This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs is brought to you by Nicholas, our patron. Thank you very much, Nicholas. We really do appreciate you. If you'd like to join Nicholas, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us a couple dollars. Thanks. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is Games Club podcast.
Yeah, and this week we are talking about Paradise Killer, which is an adventure game developed by Kaizen Gameworks and published by Fellow Traveler Games for the Switch and PC in 2020. And Gary, this is the wrongest you've ever been about a game, and unless you get off of your shit, I'm going to hold your head underwater till the bubbles stop.
Well, welcome to the here's my intro I was going to have for our contention, and people can compare. I was going to say, welcome to the courtesy zone where we politely disagree, but you threatened to drown me off type. So
the bubbles could stop if I pulled your head up. So.
That's true. Or if I found a snorkel.
Oh yeah.
Like somebody threw a good luck snorkel into the fountain.
Yeah. I just felt like I felt like throwing that out there, so because nothing. Yeah. I wanted to break the meter because nothing else would ever. Yeah, we're not actually going to get that.
As an enlightened person, I think this game is a steaming pile of dog shit, but I don't think anybody who likes it is bad. I hate this game more than I've hated anything we've done this year, and that is not to call out Nicholas, our patron, who patronized it. I really tried. Mm-hmm. I really tried to keep an open mind with this one.
Yeah.
And in just kind of ongoing Duckfeed drama, I owe Will an apology because Will, who I was like, oh yeah, Will's always trying to get me to play visual novels. It's more that he's just talking about him. Uh-huh. And as soon as we said we were doing this, he's like, you're going to fucking hate it. Yeah. And I'm like, no. I mean, it's not really a visual novel. It's like this cool like exploration thing. You can do it in any order. He's like, no, you're going to hate it.
You're right.
And he was never been more right in his life.
Right.
So yeah, I hate its guts. I hate it from top to bottom.
Yeah,
there's so many decisions in this I anti-respect.
Mm-hmm. So. And I'm gonna say that I liked this and I enjoyed it and it compelled me straight through, and it
liked and enjoyed it.
I liked and enjoyed it. And like I played it under not necessarily the best circumstances. I ended up needing to chug this a little bit, but like it compelled me and drew me through it. Does the game have problems? Yeah. But like there are, things that normally I fucking hate in games, collecting and stuff like that this actually kind of got me interested in, and this is a matter of taste, right? I tend to like these kind of things more than you do. I seek them out and play them even when they're not, assignment kind of things, right? I play these for fun as part of my, as part of my playing games for fun kind of thing. And so this is going to be an interesting thing to talk about, number one, because like, I can't change the fact that I liked it. Yeah. I can't talk myself out of liking it. I need to figure out how to describe that I liked it in a way that is more interesting than just, taste. Tastes are different, right?
I'll spoil it for you. It's going to be me pointing out really trenchant observations of ways in which this doesn't it's gonna be like half me saying things like this is purely non-additive and doesn't tie into the themes and stuff like that. And then the response to that is it didn't bother me.
Yep.
And then the other, then I'm going to be saying things like, and this didn't work and I wanted this and I didn't want this. And the response is gonna be like, and so there's the spoil. Like, the background and lore we're both going to agree on is cool. The mystery is fine. I'm less driven by I don't find it rare to be pulled along in a game. That's not enough for me. It's necessary but insufficient.
Right.
And I don't find a mystery when I don't care about the characters to be sufficient either. Like necessary. Like I like that in a mystery game. Insufficient.
Yeah. So I think that is definitely what is going to happen. I'm walking into this with a certain amount of anxiety about it because I sometimes feel that I am unable to offer something more than just like, oh, that worked for me, or it didn't bother me. And as the person in the duo who generally is a little bit more sanguine about things, I sometimes worry that means that I'm not very good at my job.
I wouldn't say that. Like I hope I'm not giving you those anxieties.
Yeah.
Like that's not my intent.
Yeah, no, it's just something I feel like. It's like I tend to feel more kind of explanatory in things. And I just kind of sometimes feel that is that's not enough. So walking into this, I really want to make a compelling case for it, but it's I think that there is a certain amount of like type mismatch. That said, I am not adding this to a pantheon. I think this is a cool game that came out in the year that it came out in. There's the stuff that this does well. There are plenty of games that do it better. So it's just kind of riding that line where like I need to offer some defense of this because I can't talk myself out of liking it, but also being accurate.
You don't have to. Don't talk yourself out of it for my account.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I didn't like it. Like I had a really bad time and I was like, why am I having a bad time? And then when I went looking for that answer, there were tons of them.
Yeah.
There's like a dozen things I think this game does incredibly shittily. And with probably without exaggeration, there are probably like 12 things I hate about this. And I was just able to find those answers, and that just didn't bother me is valid.
Yeah.
Like I really want for me to like a game, I want something more than it didn't bug me. Like go back to the conversation with Horizon Zero Dawn. Its worst systems could have been way worse. They're relatively low friction versions of bad ideas.
Right.
Doesn't do anything for me. Like I have a hard time respecting that.
Yeah.
But it in terms of an experiential thing, it's totally valid because it just didn't bug you.
Yeah.
You can't lie about that the same way that I can't lie. I mean, have you considered that truth is different than facts? Have you considered it over and over and over as almost as if it's a theme, but it's really not because it's a thematically bankrupt game?
I wouldn't say it's thematically bankrupt.
Absolutely thematically bankrupt. What if a bunch of dumb monsters did a crime you can't care about because they're all dumb monsters? Just the most evil people on Earth, and evil in a boring way.
They're not on Earth. Come on.
Evil people conceived on Earth.
Okay.
Were once on Earth at one point.
Yeah. I just we're going to go into this, and it's I think that I want to set this up. This is probably going to be the most we've disagreed on something in a while. At the end of this, it ultimately is just us talking about games that we like. So
I was kind of hoping that the trial would get you over to my side. That's what I wanted to review this morning, is how like uninteractive and just you just go through the evidence in order. Like how non-detective-y this detective game is.
Yeah.
I was hoping that was going to win you over.
I have an explanation for that when we when we get to it. So
okay,
yeah.
We're going to talk about these individual things, and just we will move on from me being like, this is a problem, and you being like, that didn't bother me, quicker than, and we will let the audience decide.
Yeah.
And also, like, I'm happy being in a place of minority about this. Like, this is a really well-reviewed game. And standard disclaimers, I'm not trying to take that away from anybody by saying the things that I hated about it. I just can't. It's my job to do the media, feel the way that I feel, examine why I feel that way, and tie it back to the source.
Yeah.
I'm the investigation freak. So it's just me being the investigation freak.
Yeah. So
everyone is fine if they love this.
Yes, just to give everybody a preview of a little bit what we're into. It's gonna be that kind of episode.
Yeah, spiced. If that's not interesting to you, you have my permission to skip this one.
Mm-hmm.
So in this game, you play as a character named Lady Love Dies. Get used to everyone being called like Execution Genocide and like, velour cabinet and shit like that. A demigod who is exiled from a cult of demigods called the Syndicate, who is brought back to solve a mass murder that threatens their society.
Yes.
Kinda.
This game is a mystery story, and it's difficult to talk about without spoiling important things. Generality is going to be kept pretty broad, but understand that you are kind of proceeding at your own risk.
Yeah. I think that if you are into mystery story video games, this is probably worth a spin.
Mm-hmm.
For you, I'm going to describe a lot of points of friction, but if you're into mystery story video games, you're probably used to most of those points of friction.
Yes.
Even though I think this game arguably does a bunch of them worse.
Mm-hmm.
You navigate around a big island that is like half paradise and half factory farm complex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In first person, kind of running and jumping, gathering clues, talking to suspects, and I mean this will be its own bullet point, I guarantee, but also engaging in a lot of Spyro the Dragon-esque collectathon stuff.
Yeah. There are lots of little attractive nuisances kind of littered around. Yeah. Before we get to that, though, talking about the actual investigation itself, you are gathering clues by poking around crime scenes in important locations. Sometimes these are cutting into a still image with some nodes to inspect. This is kind of the aesthetic of this. There's a certain kind of mixed media aspect to it. So the visuals are going to cut in, cut out to different representations.
Yeah. I'm going to, in pure trial mode, I'm going to append these points with important caveats to them, which hopefully is not too irritating to you or the listener. Mm-hmm. The proportion of which scenes are just a static screen where you are clicking on a list of icons that give you evidence versus ones where it is a scene you get to inspect in first person is pretty lacking.
Yes.
The number of times you are actually in a place where you're doing detective work, like looking at an environment and surmising things, is greatly outnumbered by the number of times you're shown a JPEG and just given a list of clues.
Agreed.
Like very much so. So that there's one of 1 dozen things I hate about this.
Yeah. When they do like actual, like you are navigating around a crime scene and finding stuff that is hidden off to the side, it is cool and good. And I wish that they would have done more.
They should have exclusively done that.
I agree.
Like it's not even more, like it's a better game easily. Like, because the other ones suck. When you talk to suspects, this happens in dialogue trees where you have like this long list of topics, like basically like keywords or key subjects, and you can press for details that are related to the case. This is a very simple dialogue tree. You get 2 responses of your attitude, and a shocking amount of time, your attitude does not matter.
Right.
When you are doing the social part of this where you're building up social links, that is just a meter that gets put up when you talk to people.
Yes.
It's not a thing where you are making choices or doing characterization really, or trying to play someone's type against themselves.
Yes.
You're just filling up a meter.
Yeah. The social link stuff is kind of disappointing. You are, it is presented as though you're kind of making exclusive choices, or you have to kind of like read somebody's preferences, and really, what it is doing is checking how many times you have talked to them about non-case things to build up kind of a trust with it. So it's like it's expressive, not like you're not trying to navigate anything that they have set up. It is you just kind of like picking your personal attitude, or deciding if you want to like role play LD as somebody else. Yeah.
I put an asterisk in this because it contributes to something I feel like is really damning about this. I also want to put a note, there is a cooldown on doing this. When you do this, you have to go talk to somebody else before you can talk to somebody again, in a way that felt blatantly artificial and like it was milling my time. Because we'll get into that, like very similar to the end trial of this. Like I have other case files that will shed light on that.
Yeah.
As we move on.
Yeah. We'll get to that. So what you're primarily trying to do when you're talking to people is get bits of testimony or evidence that can be used at the trial at the end. You know, there's none of this that you just can't, that you just won't get by asking the wrong question. Like you're just going to get this by talking to them and getting the text. They're going to be open with you. You know, at least in responding about everything. They will, you know, have denials, and, you know, kind of like alternate theories of the case and speculation that may throw out red herrings. But this isn't the kind of thing where you're going to like lock yourself out of a path. Specifically, what you're going to be doing is checking for alibis and motives and looking for alibi breakers. Things that you can offer that will get rid of somebody's excuse for why they couldn't be guilty of a particular crime.
Yes. You know, the idea that you're not going to lock yourself out of anything, there are no choices to be made in this portion of the game. You're just clicking through the book.
Yeah.
If you go through and talk to everybody and exhaust all of their dialogue options, you will always get every piece of information. There is no decision or detective work involved in any of this. You can use some to decide what alibis you're going to check with other people, but there's nothing to stop you or discourage you from just clicking through the list of every subject you have on every person. And I imagine most people did that in case, you know, there's something that they didn't, you know, that was hidden. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you find these breaks, nothing will ever happen if you call somebody on a lie.
Right.
So outside of the trial, you can find out, you know, hey, I would like to press somebody on something because there's something that doesn't add up. All they do is say, we'll see you at trial.
Yeah.
All of these characters function essentially as just long text files that you unlock with an image and music in the background, which is where the visual novel DNA of this kind of comes from.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, you're going to be talking with people, you're gathering more evidence. And, you know, when you hear about one thing from, you know, about somebody else, from somebody else, you know, that will open up topics, you know, with people that you've spoken with before. So you're going to be making rounds, to these people, several, you know, several times, you're going to be talking to all of them.
Yep. There's a little bit of a dating sim element in this, as belied by the designs. There's no gifts or resources. You just talk to them enough to build up the relationship meter, and you can do a fade to black with two of them if that is your thing. If you build them up.
Yeah.
And they all have kind of an apex secret that will come out if you just build up their total meter, which will be entered into your evidence computer, your PDA, for the final thing. You have a PDA called Starlight that organizes all of this stuff, analyzes DNA, does those kind of things. So every time you discover a new crime that is related to this main crime, it creates a case file. You can either have Starlight automatically assign evidence, or you can manually do it. If you're doing it automatically, like this is just straight up a book you're reading. You know, I don't know what you're doing. But that is basically how that dealie works.
Yeah.
It also allows you to go into an AR mode, showing you suspects and crime scenes. And eventually you get an upgrade where it will just show basically everything on the map.
Yeah. This is the primary way that you navigate around this 3D space. The map is comically not useful.
Why is there no compass?
Yeah. I would love
don't understand why you would.
No, it's really frustrating that there is no compass. You know, for me, I ended up really enjoying navigating this space, which I imagine me saying is going to make it go thermonuclear.
I don't care what you think of it. Like, I'm not mad at you or judging. Like, that is my fucking secret on this network, because I'm like, oh, you're such a crank. I don't judge people for liking video games differently than me. It's literally what I said. I didn't like it and figured out why, and it's my job to say it.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. So I enjoyed getting around the space, and by the end, I really knew it. I had internalized it in a big way,
And that currency, I think, is going to spend, differently depending on people. The part of it that ties into my criticism of the game is that I wish knowing the space ended up being important to detective work.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that is about, like, whether somebody could make it from one area to another in time, or things that have to do with geography, are not things the player does.
Right.
The computer just tells you. So there's no detective work involved in that. Like, my big thing with the open world structure of that, and we're going to get into the economy here in a second, is that I don't think it ties into the game's themes or ties into the game's mystery at all.
Yeah.
It just feels like a side thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which, like, the degree to which integration is a problem for you will depend. Like, some people are very happy to just kind of play an unrelated game in between spots of when they're playing the main game. I want things to be cohesive if possible.
Yes.
That economy, I hate this economy.
It's really non-additive. I don't like that it's here.
It feels very obvious to me it should not be here. Yeah. And the common, like, defense of it, there's a really easy alternative that would have made that better, I think. So there's an economy in the game called blood crystals. The island is littered with collectibles. It's like half blood crystals and then half relics, which are lore notes, and then way, 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 way smaller, like a way smaller proportion, there are clues that are relevant to the case.
Yes.
So it has one of the biggest, like, chaff to non-chaff ratios I've seen in, like, a collectathon game.
Yeah.
The way you use these blood crystals is you can use them on collectibles, like, aesthetic things. You can get some clues. You can get just a couple upgrades with them. It's not really a big part of that. And then unlocking and using fast travel nodes. There are a limited number of crystals. It's not scarce. If you know what you're doing, you probably won't use them all in fast travel.
Right.
But it's enough to psychologically discourage fast travel, especially early on, to no end.
Yes.
And the idea that, like, we put little gamer treats, like we put coins everywhere to get you looking everywhere. I would have much preferred to just have relevant things there.
Yeah.
Put information, take some of the stuff out of dialogue. And, this person will confess this thing to me when I confront them with this object I found.
Yes.
Easy.
It checks for that flag. Yeah.
Yeah. Super easy.
Definitely agree with that.
And that way you would have integrated exploration into the game. As is, like, you get, every once in a while, you get a thrilling moment where you, like, hey, what's up at the top of that building? And there's a cool clue. For me, every time I did that, there were 2 times I was like, what's behind the reality bending engine building? And there's not even a blood crystal.
Yeah.
Or I would do a puzzle and get fucking, like, 2 blood crystals as a reward. I solved this ghost murder.
Yeah.
And he gives me two blood crystals. I dropped my Switch. It was the same thing as what happened in The Witness, where the guy said that art is easy because it has people in it, but science is real. And I dropped my Switch. Or dropped my iPad. I dropped my Switch when I went and gathered all the little nodes, stuck them in a thing, and got 2 blood crystals.
Yeah.
Like, that felt insulting to me. And there's no way, the way these are pictured, they're kind of digitized.
Yes.
So from a distance, you do not know if something's going to be a clue or a relic. So, like, this all kind of plays into, I think this game, the primary verb of this game is collecting.
Yeah.
It's not detective work. And the game is built for collectors. The intended audience for this is a completionist who will want to get everything on the island.
By way of explanation for like how I think this functions, I really don't like the pickup economy in this. I think it's not additive. The economy, there were ways that they could accomplish this by making things more meaningful. There are kind of two stories going on here, and I think that they're both pretty pretty compelling. One is the mystery of what's going on with this, with this syndicate, with these demigods. The other is, what life is like on the island, how this religion works, like the source book of the gods that are happening here and the previous iterations and stuff. That stuff was interesting enough to me to kind of override my usual distaste for collecting. It's just a lot of the times it feels like it's not even worth bending over to pick up a penny, because like you expend more calories than it takes, to get from it. But like each of those breadcrumbs to me was cool enough to like get me going there. Is it better than what they could have gotten by doing, kind of what we both agree would be the right thing to do? Absolutely not. But it is functioning for me on that level where it ended up kind of not being a problem for me.
It functioned for me too. Like I liked those lore notes. I just wanted to read them in a source book.
Yep.
Like it did nothing to justify the fact that it was in a game.
Yeah.
They weren't, their placement wasn't meaningful. Like it would just be, you'd walk and there'd just be a sconce, and the sconce would have a cassette tape from like the 17th age or whatever.
I generally found that they were pretty like a good number of them were in like relevant positions and things like that.
Relevant like zones of the map, but the low poly world part of it, like a lot of them were just sitting outside on a bench.
Yeah.
And it's something from like many islands ago. Like, I don't understand why it's just sitting outside. It's not in somebody's collection, or they don't have a museum or something. Like, put these in a museum that's like the lore museum of past islands. So you're not getting tricked into exploring on the off chance you get something on the critical path.
Yeah.
You just go there if you want to read the lore. Bam. Another way in which this game could have been more expressively designed, as opposed to prescriptively designed for people who like collecting things.
Yeah.
So those, I also like the content of them. I'm not made of stone. Like the source book part of this is cool. Yeah. And I even think like it would be a cool mystery book. I just hate it as a game. I think it does not justify its ability as a video game.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing is they mix up the optional and the non-optional.
Yeah.
So like, not only are there clues that you need to get the story, they're going to be hidden there. Blood crystals, which you use for like skins for your fake PDA, you also end up using for upgrades that you have to have to get the full story.
Yes.
Or to just eliminate the problem that the game gave you in terms of the movement upgrades.
Yes.
Like there are foot baths that you get skills for picking up. Semiotically, I think of a foot bath in a video game as something that is going to give my character like a little relaxation emoji or something. I don't think of them as something that is critical to solving a problem the game gave me.
You don't think of them as Chozo statues.
Yeah. So the communication is very frustrating there. It's also, they are absolutely necessary to make getting around this island not a huge pain. It is so I'm trying to describe how bad the platforming feels in this before you get these. It is a first-person platformer where if you walk up to a ledge, like a waist-high ledge, you press forward and jump, you will not jump onto the ledge. You will jump straight up in the air. You have to get arc, like you have to jump before you hit the ledge, or otherwise it will stop all your momentum. Like it is not designed for feel good, like to feel good platforming rules.
Yeah.
Once you get double jump and the air dash, you can start doing those things. But again, I'm not going to thank the game for like fixing a problem it decided to create.
Right.
And then the final, that goes into my like case file of this being a game about collecting things is the final ability, highlights pickups. It's there so you can get all the stuff.
Yeah.
That is what the game wants you to do.
The three abilities you get are double jump, air dash, and then meditation. Meditation will kind of like put a little heart overlay on any of the collectibles that are that are there. There was no reason not to just kind of give you these at the start. I agree. And this, something that is probably coloring my impression of this is I heard early on, hey, look these up and go get them as soon as possible. And so I didn't really struggle around without these abilities for very long. I had them for a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I was definitely prioritizing them when I saw them, but the first one was the only one I ran into naturally exploring. Like, I sat down, like I was trying to, what I try to do on the show, like a lot of times, like I will take before I play information that will save me grief, but I'm interested in how the game signals shit. I want to know what the game is trying to communicate with this. And to me, the first one was very obvious and might kind of like go anywhere with his intuitive path. The second two were not. And I eventually got frustrated to where I looked up where they were, which is, if anything is, I don't understand how that could not be like a fail condition thing. Like I would rather just cheat and find them than stumble across them, which is not what you want for something empowering.
Yeah. It doesn't speak well.
Yeah. I don't like the way the game presents this philosophically. I don't think it's a thing I respect.
Yeah. Another non-additive system that is here, that I for the life of me, I can't see why it's here, is the Nightmare computer system. This is this is frustrating friction. That is, I've not seen like a defense of these or an explanation. Let's describe what they are. So there are locked doors, around the island. And there are some doors that have the ability to like log who came through them and at what time, providing you with really important information about who was where when, right? There's a hacking minigame that you need to do to get into these. But you need to get upgrades for your computer where you can get all the things that you need to solve all of them. The hacking
dominoes, essentially.
Yeah. Tangram.
Tangrams. There we go.
Tangram kind of things. What it does is it presents you with like a series of like images. No images, and you have to like pick the items that will create the silhouette that will match them. These fall into 4 different kind of genres: goat, cosmos, pyramids, and worship. And sometimes they're mixed up, but sometimes they're not. Most of the time, you're selecting the pieces to create basically the same image. How many times I made a human skull with goat horns? Just the exact same image that I was doing.
It didn't get fun the 12th time.
No, it didn't get fun the 12th time. In fact, I would say each time I did it, it got less fun and I got more annoyed. And I would say the first time that I did it wasn't fun.
It's not very, the only defense I've heard of these is that it gives you a little task to do.
Why?
It's the same defense as boss runs, I guess.
Yeah. I guess.
Let's slow down the pace in this game. This game is definitely too quick paced and actiony.
There's something that I do find philosophically important. When you get these upgrades, you have to manually install them, which is bad. I don't like that extra step, but like it's brought up, like there's a conversation, like, hey, make sure you install that. And they say, oh, it's really dumb that you have to do that. What is it? And LD says, oh, a little bit of friction just makes things more meaningful.
Yeah. And then later somebody echoes that line for a weird like sex thing when you're talking to the sex doctor. I don't, philosophically, I hate these game devs. I think that their values are polar opposite of mine when it comes to game design. And that is the kind of stuff that, there's no autosave in this. It's only manual save. Why? Just because I feel like they read a game critique somewhere where somebody said like it's meaningful to do a lot of stuff that manually that has been done automatically and adds immersion, and they're like that'll work for us as well.
And what's funny is that they have a lot of accessibility options. Like make it so you can, if you want that to be the case, turn it on, opt into it, please. Let me opt into it if that's what you feel.
Like auto saving is not strictly an accessibility option at all, but it is a lifestyle consideration thing, right? Like people have kids.
Yep.
People have reasons they might have to just put down a game far away from a save point. Like you can't present yourself as the gamer friendly, user experience friendly developer and then also be like, but aren't we stinkers?
Yeah.
We make you go into the menu to click this thing. The Nightmare Computer Glyphs, they're non-optional to get the story. Somebody is going to respond to me saying things are not optional by saying like everything is optional because you can just, end the game as soon as you begin it.
Yeah.
But if you're playing the game in the spirit's intended, they're non-optional. And they very well could have just been keys.
Yeah.
Like this could have been Resident Evil style keys. Or they could have made the hacking game fun. Like we just did Prey. Prey has the little hacking game in it, but it's really fast. It's a little bit kinetic. I like that one significantly more.
Yeah.
And it's skill based. Nothing in this game is skill based.
Right.
It's not a game about testing anything of you. So they want you to explore everything, as we mentioned. It is an open world. There is no linear path through it. There are no kind of nothing you have to do, no puzzles really to solve. The way that I compare it, the biggest, most damning thing to me is this is a game as much as a mystery novel is a game if you could read it in any order and read as much as you want.
It'd be like a mystery magazine where there were different articles, and then the ability at the end to put in basically what I'm describing is those mystery in a box
You Be the Judge
subscriptions. I don't know what You Be the Judge books are.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're like books like I read as a kid, where it would tell you a situation and it'd be like, now who's right in this situation?
Yeah.
And you get to guess before you turn the page.
Yeah.
That's what the game allows you to do. You spend as much time milling for evidence and stuff as you want.
Yeah.
It is not a test of your skill to get everything in the game. You just play it for an explorer until you have read as much of the book as you want to read and you have good guesses, and then you do your guesses.
I will say that there are there are some pieces of there are some pieces of evidence and whole scenes that you can get to that do require that do kind of test whether you were curious or able to get to particular places. It's not all directly on the path or directly on stuff that the interface is kind of drawn
your way
to.
Into the barracks. There's a couple little bits.
Yeah,
the proportion's really off.
Yes.
But there are a few.
The proportion is off, but there is really important stuff that is hidden off of the beaten path where it is going to reward you for exploration. By way of explanation for why I agree with what you're saying about yes, this is a mystery book you can read in any particular order. What gives this, I think that I like Danganronpa and Phoenix Wright better than this because they're games that are testing you more rigorously than this is. The benefit of this structure to me was that I could pursue my interest. And say all right, I want to talk to this person. I haven't talked to them for a while. I'm really more curious about this than this right now. Being able to follow my interest and follow my energy was pretty freeing in this to me. I understand that. And that's what the developers wanted, right? Yes.
If you read the interviews from the developers, they're not shy about just saying what they're trying to accomplish. To me, it was a foregone conclusion that I was just going to try to get as much stuff as I could. In any particular order, yes, I could read it in any order. I could be I want to talk to this person now. But I was going to get it all.
Yes.
And not for, before somebody in the peanut gallery is oh, you're going to do that for work, or you're going to do that because you're under a deadline. I beat this last Thursday. I've had a bunch of time without this. And it's also something that I think that's the spirit of it. That's what it wants.
Yeah.
I think the mechanics support that it wants you to scour the island, exhaust all the conversations. So it doesn't feel like very much of a Band-Aid that I could do it in any order.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't do it in any order because I had those cooldowns on the Hangouts. So if I really wanted to, this is, goat-headed lady, Crimson is very interesting because she's obviously tangentially related to some pretty compelling facts of this case. I really want to just exhaust this.
Yeah.
You can't. You go for a little bit and then it puts you on cooldown and says, no, the way we want you to play is you go explore some more for a while and then come back.
Yeah.
like it's very like prescriptive. It's a very prescriptive game for as open as they want it to be.
It's funny that ended up being a problem for you, because like we must have played it just in really different ways. I must have been more of a grazer because I exhausted all that stuff. And I wasn't necessarily like optimizing my play to, you know, like to get around it. Like, yes, I hit those little roadblocks when they got there, but I went to everybody enough times to where the hangouts kind of dwindled and ended for me.
Yeah, they did for me too. It just, I wanted to get, I guess this was before I understood that nobody would change their testimony based on being called out for anything. So I would know, something that happened several times before I realized the level that this game was working on was I would have a piece of evidence that contradicted what somebody said. And I think in a detective genre, one of the most delicious things you can do is call somebody out in a lie.
Yes.
Right? Contradiction. You know, what would you do if I put my hand like this?
Yeah.
And you get to see them stumble.
Yeah,
you know, and that
Phoenix
is
Wright. You get to watch them, get to see them unravel in front of you.
Yes, incredibly satisfying. This game puts all of that, the trial at the end, and just gives it to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to, me having the intuitive leap in Gary's brain, not the avatar, not Lady Love Dies, being like, oh man, shit. Like this person's definitely lying about this. I'm going to go talk to them. I go and talk to them and they have nothing more to add. And when I call them on that thing, they just go, no, That just is a slap in the face that happened a dozen times in this game.
Yeah.
I don't understand somebody not thinking that sucks. Like, don't you want to press somebody? Like, you're an investigator. Like, don't you want to do cool investigation shit?
Yeah. I didn't end up missing it here. I don't know if I just kind of caught the speed of it faster or what. Like that would have been cool. This felt a little bit more like, I don't know, realistic is the wrong word for it. It felt like it wasn't keyed for drama like that. You know, keyed like it was, you know, a piece of procedural investigation. Like the idea that you were gathering stuff and people, you know, are just, you know, they're gonna deny. And it's up to you to figure out what's relevant and kind of assemble the events in your head before you go and present all the evidence. That felt truer to the way that court cases actually work.
Until the end, where everyone instantly crumbles under any pressure.
Right.
And then throws everyone else under the bus. Like, it's like that up until the end where the game just gives it to you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like I could accept that as a realistic thing. You know, you can't always press somebody into things. I think it would have been a cooler game if you could have, because I think that's more exciting.
Yeah.
You know, like tricking, I wanted more puzzles, I wanted more interactivity.
Yeah.
But the fact that at the end, it's not about me picking, I never even really got to do it at the end. Like, I just chose the person and then presented the evidence in order, and they just crumbled and implicated 3 other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it gives you too much. This is not, I hate saying something isn't a game. Like, it's definitely a game, but it's not a detective game any more than a detective novel is.
Yeah.
Like, if you can guess who did it before the end of a novel, that's what you're doing in this.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not how the game was presented to me, both in terms of its marketing and in terms of people telling me about it.
Yeah. No.
You know, like, that there was definitely an issue of expectations. Like, I wish somebody had just said, yeah, this is just a linear narrative game with a platformer attached to it. Treat it like a mystery novel. I had higher expectations because people tried to tell me, no, this is not what it looks like.
Yeah.
It is not just that. It 100% is.
Right.
And, you know, that is a little bit my fault for being gullible and believing people, I guess. But one of the people I'm believing are the people who made the game, who were talking about how important player choice was to their, like, philosophy. And it's like, I feel lied to. Like, not like, you know, in a way I'm going to have to go to therapy or something, but I feel bait and switched in terms of this as a piece of art.
Yeah. No.
Drives me a little nuts. I wish, you know, the trial, I had a lot riding on the trial. I was really looking forward to the trial. That's my favorite part of a Phoenix Wright game.
Yeah.
You know, as much as you're warmer on those things than I am, like, I like Phoenix Wright games. Like, I played the first 2 or 3 of them. I enjoy them. I think the trials are super fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not against that kind of thing. I like trial gameplay. This wasn't that for me.
Yeah.
You can instigate the end whenever you want. You want to have it before you do so. You want to have your own theory. And this, it looks like you're going to have to do evidence and stuff. You really just have to know who did each crime.
Yes.
And you can kind of encouraged both in the theming of the game, like all of you construct your own truth. This is subjective kind of stuff that people are saying. And with the way the trial works out, to come in kind of half aware, half cocked, because people will just implicate each other and tons of evidence comes out in trial.
Yes.
So if you think somebody did something and you're not totally sure, just accuse them and it will come out that they did it, and or arguably did it.
Yeah. There are, and we'll talk about we'll talk about it more when we get there, because I don't want to spoil the facts of the case when we do. Let's talk about the aesthetics. I like Paradise. I like the lore of this place, the backstory, the world that this takes place in. Good. It's creepy and fucked up. And you know, when you are not talking to people directly about, you know, just strictly about what happened, you know, the night of the crime, you're spending a lot of time kind of ambiently gathering, you know, what has happened here, and, you know, exactly what kind of, you know, just crime and evil this is built on. You know, it's a
vile place.
Yes.
Which, if I was sorting marbles into different jars for this game, like, this is a mixed one for me, because I love how evil it is. I love the backstory of it. Like, the cosmology is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the characters live up to it.
Right.
In the game, I don't think any of them are interesting enough, and I don't care what happens to any of them. You know, I wanted to condemn the entire thing.
Yes.
And I don't feel like that was the point of the game. I don't think that's what it was trying to get me to do, because I think that the way the characters are designed are kind of like super cool Tumblr drawings, like super cool DeviantArt characters. You know, too cool for school character designs.
Yes.
That are explicitly, you know, you flirt with and can eventually have sex with, but I think are specifically made for kind of like flirt bait. Like, you know, this may not be a negative for you, but this is the kind of game, I think, where you're supposed to pick one of them and say that they're your boyfriend or girlfriend, like at the jump.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't work for me, but that isn't the point of my criticism with this. My point is that for that kind of characterization, I was expecting louder, wilder characters.
Yeah. The way that I said this kind of in the green room or on Slack, you know, is that the art style for the characters and their overall design writes checks that the dialogue specifically can't cash.
Yeah. It's pretty, I wanted them to be a lot cooler, and more complicated. Characters, like, there's a lot of characters stating their motive. You saying, well, was that your motive? Did you murder? And they're like, no. And then later it's like, no, but they would help murder, or they would, like, you know, be an accessory. They do crimes. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of, like, characters adhering to the letter of your question, not the spirit of it, when they present as friendly or as more nuanced than that. Yeah. In a way that made me just, like, I executed everyone on the island who was even remotely related, because they all deserve to die because the system is faulty. And I wish I could have turned the gun on myself at the end. None of this stuff deserves to go on.
No, I wish. I mean, I don't know that this is a spoiler, but I wish that there was a way that you could say, no, this all ends here. You know, because that I think would also be thematically in line with what the devs have stated is, you know, some of their ideas for what they approached.
As if it's very thematically confused as a game.
Yeah, confused is different than bankrupt.
I don't think that you can come up with a coherent what this is about.
Yeah,
like, I don't think that there's a strong enough metaphor for this, and I think the fact that we're basically like arranging deck chairs on the Titanic, like the actual crime that is happening is way worse than anything we're investigating. But the most you get is a character being like, it's pretty fucked up how we're evil, huh? But nothing happens. Yeah. I just don't understand what the idea of that is. Yeah. I've heard arguments, but I do not find them compelling. Yeah.
The argument that I have read that I kind of like half-heartedly kind of attached to is that the venality of kind of the crime and the entanglements. I think that the entanglements of the characters with each other and kind of the political vying is, you know, like that's the interesting part about them. I wish that there was better dialogue and stuff to it, but like that was good to me. But like the venality and the way that everybody is just kind of more concerned with getting legs up in political you know, in political games and stuff while everything is crumbling around them. That is a point in itself. Nobody here is actually working towards a goal other than like selfishness, and that is the rot that is causing all of this, and why this is all going to happen again, because nobody has actually learned anything. That doesn't.
It's going to happen again because of demons that
Yes.
don't fit into the metaphor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand how demons fit into the metaphor of like any of that.
Yeah, so that's why I said
they're just doom monsters.
yeah, half-heartedly subscribe to, you know.
Like it feels like you have to do a lot of, like, not you specifically, but it feels like it rounds into themes, and the themes it rounds into are separate than the ones that it kind of hammers into you. The amount of times that they say truth is not fact at you, and that truth is subjective, I was really expecting that to matter.
Yeah.
And be like part of anything. Because it's basically like a log line for the game. It's ARC words.
Yeah.
With how often it happens. So to me, that, you know, the dialogue and characters, I don't care what happens to the characters, which means I don't care what happens to anything in this world. But the actual mystery is cool. Like the plot and mechanics of what happened is neat and elaborate. There's a nice little double switch. Like, I do like the mystery. Like the backdrop was cool on its own. I don't like how they tie together.
Yeah. No.
You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, as always, it comes back to integration problems. You know,
Yeah.
that is
Think about when you would think about the banality of evil, contrast this with Papers, Please, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can do banality of evil stories and have everything integrate, you know, really well. They just weren't interested in that as developers.
Yeah.
Not their philosophy.
Yeah. So like the ends don't meet, and it's really up to you to determine if it's worth kind of stretching them to, you know, to touch them together briefly. Yeah.
Visually though,
Yes.
you know, there's a kind of like the word that gets thrown around a lot in this is like vaporwave, kind of aesthetic, like lots of neons and PS1 style kind of things. This is not a problem with the game at all. Someone described the music as vaporwave to me, which they were wrong.
Yep.
You know, so I was hoping for vaporwave because I like it. Instead it is city pop, which is a kind of jazz fusion that was big in Japan in the 70s and 80s.
Yes. I think the soundtrack bops. You know, I went into this thinking it was going to be vaporwave as well, and I enjoy that. I liked what we got. Specifically, you know, it reminded me of Breath of Fire 3, honestly, and that is a that is a soundtrack that I also think bops. So I may just be a fan of this genre, but like I've been humming stuff from this basically for 2 weeks.
There's a few songs I think are really good.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. There's a reggae song that drives me nuts because it begins cooler than turns into reggae. Like the beginning of it's so awesome, and then I'm like, oh man.
I took that one out of the rotation. I skipped it whenever it popped up.
Yeah. I like that you can skip it, even though in my this game is about collecting point, you collect your soundtrack as well. That's also a collectible.
Yeah.
They love collecting.
Yep, they really do. Yeah. So, you know, this has a vaporwave aesthetic insofar as there are neons, and, you know, you do have lots of mixed media kind of Photoshop collages that have, you know, like classical sculpture incorporated into them. Basically, the idea was like, hey, this is a way for us to make it, you know, to make it otherworldly, and also vaporwave itself as an aesthetic. And when I say aesthetic, pretend that it's that weird font with a really wide kerning that people use when they talk about vaporwave. Is you know, it is anti-capitalist and anti-authority, you know, this kind of remix culture. You know, just one of the ways that remix culture has really popped up in the in the tens. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't hate the soundtrack to this or anything because it's not vaporwave.
Yeah,
like about half of it I think is super good. It's just after I got over my like, this gazpacho is steaming hot.
Yeah.
Let me explain something to you. If you tell me something's going to be cold,
Yeah.
it's room temperature. Like, that's basically my experience with the soundtrack.
People need to stop describing things as vaporwave without specificity around that, because Hypnospace Outlaw has a vaporwave aesthetic, kind of, but not. No, exactly.
Chowder Man.
And I think what's happening with a good deal of this is, like, both Hypnospace Outlaw and this are drawing on things that really inspired vaporwave. So, like, they're playing in a bunch of, like, the same pools, but it's not actually like the fusion that you would, trips in your head when somebody says, "Oh, this is vaporwave," right?
The vaporwave pool.
Yes.
Kaizen Gameworks, who made this game, was formed in 2018 by what is his name?
Oli. Yeah.
Oli Clark.
Yeah.
Who worked as a level designer, did levels in 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, and then also worked with Supermassive, the makers of Man of Medan. He worked on Until Dawn.
Yes.
The good one. And then Phil Crabtree, who worked on a lot of iOS stuff.
Yes. Yeah. We need to do Until Dawn.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I really want an excuse to play that game.
Yeah. And the Dark Pictures anthology stuff, not bad, actually.
People hate the ones that aren't Until Dawn, but I'm just going, that's hearsay. I have not played them myself.
Yeah. I've streamed both of them, and I think that they're both worthwhile. The third one looks pretty cool to me as well. Kaizen cites lots of influences on this. Danganronpa is a really obvious inspiration for this. Just the very kind of like opinionated and hyper stylish visual design. They also cite like the dialogue and weirdness of Deadly Premonition, the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft, the kind of fucked up bureaucracies of Franz Kafka, and it's pretty apparent that they're just big fans of like manga generally. Specifically this kind of sci-fi fantasy horror kind of stuff that they're playing in.
This little blend. I really wish that there was more Deadly Premonition in this. There's one character who does kind of weird turns of phrase here into, who ended up being one of my least favorite characters in the game.
Which one?
The demon, Shinji.
Yes.
Who's also a collectible. It counts towards your completion rate because everything's a collectible in this game.
Yeah.
But I was really hoping for more of a Deadly Premonition vibe.
Yeah, I want the dialogue to be stylized.
It's so unstylized. It's weird because it's stylized in that they punctuate them with little ticks that give you more characterization. But what they say, they're either just like mean, horny, or nice. And that's really kind of it. They don't have multiple personalities. It's like you mix and match from different columns. Mean, horny, or nice, and then whatever their individual swear or verbal tick is. And then just kind of shuffle them together, and then you have a character.
It's like a Chrono Cross kind of like a text filter that is put over different folks. Yeah, I definitely missed any kind of lyricism in the dialogue around this, and that's what you would get with the Deadly Premonition, or even like a Danganronpa, right?
I about halfway through the first Danganronpa and liked the dialogue of that game more than I like the dialogue of this game. This was not their first idea for this. The original plan was something like Gone Home, with this big wide open mystery where you can gather pieces of it and interpret it. Spoiler, that's what Gone Home is already.
Yeah.
So the project was not supernatural. It was set around the Yamanote train line in Japan.
Yes. Kind of their next vision, like as they started kind of like honing in on the paradise idea of this, was actually having you play as the ferry woman, kind of the boat driver who takes people around this island, and you would use your conversations and the trips to gather clues and solve the mystery. This is real similar to Night Call, and there's another there's another. It was like two games where you are an Uber driver who solves a mystery.
I know which one you're talking about. Aaron Seagal talked about it, but I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah.
This was called originally their pitch for this. They said Gone Home Crazy Taxi, which if you actually had to like get people Like if you were engaging in crazy taxi mechanics while trying to listen to clues, that sounds like a kind of Lumen Dare I can get behind.
Yep.
You know, like whether you're paying attention while like dodging traffic, but I know it would just be, you know, conflictless, mechanicless driving with the story being told to you, because that's what these guys are interested in. They did briefly consider like a top-down action game with kind of this interconnected Souls-like world where you play as Marshall Akiku, but they didn't have the budget or timeline for that, and I'm really glad because I hate Marshall Akiku.
Yes.
It would not have been fun to spend a lot of time in her shoes.
No. So they iterated, they made it kind of stranger and stranger, with the idea being ultimately they wanted to find a way to put systems in where you could kind of express your conclusions back into it as answers, thus kind of arriving at the trial where you can pick your suspect.
Yes.
To accuse.
It is so weird reading them talk about this game because all they talk about is how much they want to create a game that emphasizes player freedom and choice. And I don't think that is what they did.
I think that they are implementing it on a pretty superficial level.
Like it is the choice of I can stop playing a game or put down a book when I want to. You know, like that is not much of a choice. Like I don't go in for like Magic Circle thinking as much as like Will does, for example, right? Like the other person in life who I talk to about games as much as you, you know, or not as much. That'd be ridiculous. I have a side podcast.
I was going to say, hey, dude.
No, but I talked to Will about games, and he's a big fan of the Magic Circle as an idea. Like you enter into a contract with the game to meet it on like, these are the rules, these are the game's terms. To me, what this game communicates to you is, hey, you're here to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
You know, so like, yes, while it is technically possible, I could just quit as soon as I have an inkling. That is so against that's in the letter of the game, but it's so against the spirit of the game. It may not as well as exist. It also exists in every other video game.
Yeah.
And every other piece of media. Like you can duck out of a book or movie, you know, and just be like, I guess who did it? And then stop. You can do that in here as well. Who cares? Like, it's not impressive.
I think that the ability to go to whoever you want in any order that you want and explore the different regions, kind of following your nose and what you think is interesting or the question you want answered. I think that's the more salient freedom that they're looking at. More so than deciding, okay, I have everything. I feel sufficiently good that I have a theory of the case and I can end the trial. I think that the former is way more important than the latter, but it is ultimately, for as much as they are talking about it, it's a little bit crazy making because the execution is way more superficial than it sounds like they believe they made it.
Than they think it is.
Yes.
Well, it's also not that rare, right? Like again, for developers who cite Gone Home as like an influence, this is a big sloppier Gone Home. Like Gone Home is you exploring a space to get clues to figure out what happened. It doesn't test you at the end. But on the plus side, you're also not just getting those clues as JPEGs where you just click down a list of blurbs. Like you actually have to explore the environment. Like Gone Home is a game you just stop playing when you want to, once you figure things out, and you can explore the house in any order. And that's an old game. You know, like this thing that they have made is not rare. Like it's this weird thing where not only do they think it is special, but it's not only is, you know, its satisfaction can spend differently for different people, but I don't think it's even arguably unique or rare. It is pretty, like that ended up being pretty frustrating to me. Again, part of that's expectations. Part of it is just the games I like to play. I don't want to play a game where it doesn't matter if I'm there. Like, you know, I'm going to get the same information no matter what order I do it in. Why does Gary need to be here? I could just read this as a book. You know, it's weird to me. However, like reviewed very well. I'm in the minority on this. This has about an 80 on Metacritic. A lot of people's Game of the Year list. Lots of 9s out of 10s to kind of balance that out. There's a few, you know, people like me who are like, what the fuck, bringing down that Metacritic score, which people who liked it tend to really like it.
And Kaizen has not announced what their next project is going to be. You know, I imagine this sold well based on kind of the amount of buzz that it got. They're interested in revisiting Paradise, likely in prequels or side stories. because choosing a canonical ending for this, like to do a direct sequel, would be a really thankless task.
They also have this huge Bible for the
Yes.
background. Like all of these different ages are written out. So it would be silly to throw all that stuff away.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
So they've not announced, but it's a pretty weird time to be starting and working on projects right now. So like, I can imagine them kind of kicking around ideas more so than being in real production.
Yep. I will, if any, like I won't put this out to everyone but if any one person wants to take me up on a bet, I will put $5 towards them doing the same thing again. Yep. Which is a different story, like basically using the same engine and doing all of the same gripes that I was frustrated about. So I would pay $5 to be proven wrong.
I would say that's pretty likely. I would, I don't know. I would not bet against you on that one, because they don't really have an awful lot of incentive not to, like they made this and were rewarded for it. So, yeah.
The reason why it's important to me is because I think that for me, a lot of the problems I have with this game tell me things about the developers, like what kind of things they value in games, and if that's true, if these things aren't like ineptitudes, like if not starting with the jump mechanics unlocked all the way is not an ineptitude, if it's a decision, I think it's something that's done with enough confidence that they believe that is a good decision. And that is just something, again, like I philosophically cannot get behind. I think like, oh, these guys are going to keep stepping on the same rakes. Yeah. Rakes for me, I'll never play another video game these people make again. Right. Not rakes for me. Right. I'm good, fam. Like, get me away from the visual novel related sphere. I don't want to argue about whether this is a visual novel, but I do not want to play games where I have to mill through dialogue, and just get the story and just go through it all. I don't want to do that. Yeah. I think I need more. We picked a really mechanics light month kind of on accident, and I am shaking it off.
Let's get into it. We have Miles Go Before We Sleep.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm passionate about this game. So it's going to make a super long episode that some people won't listen to. Horrible investment on our time. So we get this opening text that explains the situation. There's something called the Syndicate, which is guided by their leader, Montserrat, who created these paradise islands to worship these dead alien gods, and they force citizens into rituals to resurrect the gods.
Yes. This is like a pocket reality. They, have, and they kidnap, thousands of people and basically make them into slaves, expendable slaves.
Slaves before ritually executing them.
Yes. Yeah.
So, not good guys.
This worship invites demonic and cosmic corruption, because as they pray, it kind of opens up these psychic pathways that the Lovecraftian outer gods can find and ride in. And this always results in these islands failing. An island goes sideways. They say it sucks, dump it. They make a new island, and the cycle repeats.
Yes. During the 13th sequence, the Syndicate had a lead investigator named Lady Love Dies. She was deceived by one of the gods, Damned Harmony, not Dan Harmon. It sounds a lot like Dan Harmony. And this caused that cycle to fail. And because of this, she was sentenced to eternal exile.
Yes.
The idea is these cycles get closer and closer to perfection till cycle 24, which was very close. And the thing that stopped it from being perfect is that a citizen named Henry Division, fuck me, got the names in this I have limited patience for. Got too close. By my house, somebody spray painted like Epic Epoch. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it's one of the Paradise Killers. Henry Division got too close to the gods and got possessed by a demon. The prevailing theory is that this council, that started slaughtering the citizens, beginning to create Island 25, but they were all killed before they can complete the process.
Yes.
Presumably by Henry Division.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Henry Division is, they go to great lengths to make it that he is the only culprit that could logically have done this. And of course, in mysteries, unlike in real life, you should be wary of obvious answers.
Yeah, in real life, it would just be this dude, and all the people I executed would probably should have lived.
Yeah. So we kind of get this little interlude, kind of setting up a framing device for this. There are some shadowy figures sitting at a bar. They're drinking and they're talking cryptically about, how the whiskey on this island tastes like embers. Something that is true about all of the islands is that, the flavor, takes on flavors based on the nature of the island itself. We're going to get cutaways to these guys at the end as well, and also whenever we pick up whiskeys out in the world.
It's important to note these guys are on Island 25.
Yes.
So this is from the future. I'm going to sound like a parody of myself. I hate these. Mm-hmm. I stopped picking up whiskey because I didn't want to sit through 2 loading screens to have somebody be like, cold outside in the winter. Mm-hmm. Yes, but did she do it correctly? Who knows? Truth is where you find it. And then another loading screen and going back.
Yeah.
Currency of these things will spend differently, but they are a collectible.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So you take control of Lady Love Dies in your house in the Idle Lands. She's been exiled for 3,004,769 days, which is about 8,000 years. Yep. That's it. And her exile is just her hanging out in a zone. I don't know how hasn't gone mad and like clouded her eyes.
No, she's potting lots of plants.
That's a lot of plants, man. 8,000 years of plants. And she this is above the island here. Like it's kind of the sky prison. She knows something is wrong with Island 24 because it hasn't left yet.
Yes. Yeah. It should have ended, but has not. So as we're walking around, we leave her bedroom. There's this strange blue 4-armed fox demon. Kind of has a rectangular head, has a censored out crotch, and is flipping the double bird. He's standing in front of your bedroom. This is a demon. I'm a demon. His name is Shinji. And he says that he hears word that the syndicate is looking to bring him back is looking to bring LD back to investigate what's going on.
Yeah. I do not know how many Shinjis you have in the notes, but Shinji is a continual presence. Like he just appears places as a collectible. Early on, he gives you like pretty good information about like demons, like how demons work.
Yeah.
That is useful. And then eventually just becomes like cryptic insults.
Yes.
But initially it felt like the relevance of his stuff dried up, where it felt like the first 10 times you talked to him, almost that it was keyed to give you useful information, and then he swapped into collectible mode. But yeah, we're going to keep running into this dude.
Yeah. I liked Shinji quite a bit. He felt like a stowaway on loan from the Killer 7 collection. Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
And he definitely, like, I'll say this for Shinji, is that his dialogue did have a little bit of spark to it. Like it's a bright light, dark shadows kind of thing. Like I ended up being annoyed at Shinji because I was expecting more insight long after the insight had dried up. But I will say that the dialogue is not uniformly boring from Shinji.
Yeah.
Shinji also tells you to grab your laptop, which you go in the next room. It's actually been unlocked ahead of time. It has been shut down and locked since your exile began, and it's been, remotely unlocked so the judge can call you to tell you that the entire council, including Montserrat, were killed, and the syndicate is about to collapse. Syndicate and council mean the same thing to me, but just think of council as an inner circle and syndicate as kind of outer circle.
Yeah.
If for simplicity.
Yeah. So everybody in the council is in the syndicate. They're all immortal. The council makes decision, whereas like the syndicate are all like functionaries, basically.
Yeah, they do jobs. Like one of them gained immortality and killed unknown thousands of human people to become a bartender.
Yes.
So they did it for 425 plus tips, basically. It's pretty, once you start looking at the scales of whether any of these crimes were worth it and what people are getting out of this, it does not feel very much like paradise to me.
It's almost like the name is ironic.
Ooh. Yeah. What's going on behind those picket fences?
So the judge says, hey, you need to go through this barrier and fall to the island. Don't worry, the rules haven't changed. You won't die for this. And Lydia will meet you there and pick you up. This is where you get your first nightmare computer section. You have to match the hieroglyphics. I make no more note of this.
Yes. Just know that you do it a lot.
Yeah.
Both like you do it to an excessive degree to where there'll be like a tunnel that you go through and both sides will be locked.
Yes.
With it. So you've already made it through the tunnel, and to get into the first side, you have to have the encryption. They just want you to do it again.
Yes.
To get out. Like it's not, not to a point. But a moment in this game that is very striking, though, gained a lot of people's affection, is when you just fall out of the window and fall, and the music kicks up, and you get your smash to title screen, and it's very stylish.
Yes.
If you are like in the pocket for very stylish UI, like in a Persona 5 kind of way, this game doesn't.
Yes, it will deliver. Yeah. So you land at the Paradise Gates, and you meet your first syndicate member. This is Lydia Daybreak. She was Lady Loved Eyes' best friend, and she is the ferry woman for the syndicate. She is your fast travel, but being a ferryman or ferrywoman means that like she is specifically tasked with moving people from this island to the next one, crossing the barrier between the realities.
Yeah, as the only person who owns a car.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being her when anyone had to move? What a pain. We're still on rails here. We can talk to her. There's a door we can't get into yet, just kind of signaling the nonlinearity. We're going to come back here. She takes you to the council meeting where you meet Judge. Judge is this weird six-armed Eldritch three-face thing who has scrubbed their old existence and fused with the island to become a personification of justice. Really feels like that should be more exciting than it is. The entire council was murdered last night at midnight. They have the suspect, Henry Division, in custody. He was demonically possessed. He had a knife in hand. And most interestingly to me, he had the council blood in his stomach.
Yes.
The crime scene is this penthouse in the council tower, but there are 4 seals that can only be opened up by the island's leaders to get in there. So we don't even know that the council is technically dead.
Yeah.
We know that the new island hasn't emerged and they haven't come out, so they're probably dead. And there are no eyewitnesses. So that kind of gives us our initial locked room mystery.
Yes. So in this kind of vacuum of leadership, the person who designed the next island, the person who designed the past several islands, syndicate member named Carmelina Silence, she has been kind of made the temporary leader of the syndicate, just to have somebody at the helm. So we're going to need to talk to her. Something else that is kind of happening concurrently about this, that may or may not be related, is the fact that one of the syndicate members, this master craftsman named KHX, has gone missing. He's been gone for several days, basically like a month, which is, it's not unusual for him to isolate and go away for months at a time. But at the end of the island, that's weird. He is the one who designed the second holy seal that protects the council. So as like one of the few people who actually knows what that is, there would have been a reason for somebody to get to him. So that is kind of like rolled into the mystery on this.
Yeah, obvious, or, get to him, or he could have been the person.
Yes.
Early on, like he was a suspect to me, like he got in and got out. Obviously a person of interest. The judge updates your laptop with blood records for the council and with Henry, so you can examine murder weapon and the crime scene and kind of compare those things. And when you open it, you get your initial facts of the case. Henry Division escaped the desolate cell guarded by Grand Marshal Akiko 14 at 11:52 p.m. The council was murdered at midnight. Henry was found by Akiko outside the council building at 12:03, and the guards were killed.
Incredibly tight time frame.
Yep. That's the first thing you can notice, but never fear if you don't notice. The computer just tells you later.
Yeah.
So you are not here to intuit.
Yeah. So Shinji is waiting for you outside the courthouse. This is where you learn that he, has stolen a bunch of blood crystals and just kind of scattered them around. That's the kind of the in-game reason for why these things are about. and he gives you kind of an idea for what to do with them right away, saying, "Oh, there's somebody named Crimson Acid who is going to, charge you for secrets." So that is a reason right now to start collecting them.
Yes, every council needs to have one information broker. Like it's very. I know that it's because a lot of people died and a lot of people moved on, but the collection of jobs that are left is very funny to me.
Yep.
This is something I find philosophically very infuriating in the game. One of the things that is coded as a collectible, which is vending machines for drinks, which semiotically in video games, these are things that give you 1 HP or give you a little can as an Easter egg.
Yep.
Instead is something you have is a collectible. You have to do 10 of them to get a necessary upgrade for your laptop. I hate that. Yeah. I hate that as a choice so much. I didn't do the vending machine because blood crystals are valuable. I need them for necessary upgrades. I need them for fast travel. Why would I throw one into a vending machine? Oh, they're necessary for vending machine for the progress of the game, and there's nothing that signals that.
Yep, we're just not going to communicate to you that this is that this is mandatory.
This is a game for people who want to collect everything.
Right.
Like the ideal use case for this is somebody who would definitely go up to the vending machine and spend the thing because they want to press all the buttons in the manhole. You know.
Yeah. So you go to the council tower to look at kind of the exterior of the crime scene. The ramp leading up to the council tower has some bloodstains on it and some body outlines. You look at this, Henry's knife is here, or the knife that was found on Henry when he was captured. The bloodstain where Henry was found gives LD the idea to check where Henry started from. And to, match up the distance traveled versus the alleged timeline. It doesn't match up when you get there. It just automatically calculates it for you and says, yeah, the official version of events could not have happened, unless somebody had helped him in some way.
The two guards here who are dead are considered the first seal who guard these things. Their throats were cut with a jagged blade, important that it was jagged, and the killer used their blood to write these demonic runes. We can identify those.
Right.
However, we immediately know that the blood does not match any blood on file for the marshals.
Right.
It matches the non-council blood that is on the knife, so it seems like the marshals were swapped out with citizens. Marshals are not members of the syndicate. They're recruited from the slave class.
Right. Yeah. So these are not, military members. These are just some randos. So we need to figure out what's going on with that. We get to the door to the second seal, and Shinji is here, and he says, "Yeah, I wouldn't go through there. That door actually leads to outer space." Like the second seal is this little puzzle that needs to be solved. Basically after you teleport to this, faraway planet in the solar system. Henry, might have been able to make it with the power, like with the help of his demon, but it is more likely that whoever went through there used this space helmet that was discarded behind this planter.
Yeah. Which is a very sloppy piece of evidence, hiding it for how complete the cover-up is. Leaving this here is very funny.
Yes.
So Henry could have used it, but he still would have had to find his way in there. When we go in there, it's a dead end for now. There's a little 4 symbol code kind of lock, but we don't know what to do with them. We put in a bird, a snake, a bull, and a scholar. An important clue you can find, though, is back where Shinji found the helmet. There are pink petals there, but there are no flowers. There's a guy named Yuri who has pink flowers on his hat. Though, so that kind of leads to him. Then there's a ladder down to a maintenance area, and a grate that should have been blocked open is jammed open, or has been jimmied open with a sharp tool. It should have been blocked access, rather.
Yeah.
So all of note.
And there's a nightmare computer here that leads to records of who came in to the Syndicate HQ area, kind of confirming. So we have Carmelina and Yuri, who kind of left early. Doom Jazz never left his clinic on the other side of the building at a dock there. And
people who are listening to this as service, Doom Jazz is a character. And he's a horny doctor.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So the horny doctor never left his clinic.
Right. And notably, the most important information here is that Henry never came through this gate.
Yes. So heading to, and at this point, after you examine the crime scene, we are now in nonlinear zone. So you can go in different areas. We're just going to follow the notes, but and I don't think that my deviations from this are going to be that interesting. Like the fact that I could go in a different order didn't do a lot for me. But just know, in terms of if you're doing this as service, you don't have to do any of this in this order. Like you just go walk around basically at this point wherever you want. So I also went to the Syndicate HQ next.
This is right there.
You go into the library. This is your first JPEG clue list things. There's no hidden object or interactivity here, but it kind of looks like there is. You watch a loading screen. It shows you a picture of a library, and then there are 3 magnifying glasses you can click to get paragraphs of clue. The important thing here is that Yuri Knight, who is the character with the hat, accessed the Forbidden Tomes multiple times over the years.
Yes.
Like old big pile of Necronomicons. Specifically, a cluster of dates around the first time that Henry's been possessed. We figured out that Henry's been possessed before.
Yes. Yeah. So you can go talk to Carmelina Silence. She is, like we said before, the architect. And she is very kind of obsessed with her craft, obsessed with perfection. Somebody who is designing these artificial spaces, and she doesn't really have time for you.
Obvious villain.
Obvious villain. Yes. Yeah. All of these are people. Most of them, all of them except for one, are people who came from our world. A lot of them, were kind of drawn in by the Syndicate around the year 1000. From kind of different places. Carmelina, I believe, is French, at least based on her accent. She really, really is insisting, let's just do the trial now. We have the killer in custody. Why are we fucking around with this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Her personality trait and her motive, which she'll tell you right now, and turns out to be actually her motive. Like there's surprising little subterfuge in this game, is that her father did a treason, which means that because of that, she cannot sit on the council. She's resentful of this. Yeah. She's only a temporary leader because the Syndicate believes that the next island, 25, will be perfect. So it's kind of an honorific that she has. But the fact that she's resentful about not sitting on the council is immediately, she just tells you.
Yes.
You can ask for her alibi, and that's that she was talking to Witness in his apartment. Witness, another character we'll mention, that when the crime was committed, and she says the logs will confirm that. And we go and check, and they do. She was there.
Yes. So, seems airtight. As I was exploring, I kind of went to this central area first, this mountain gorge. Early in the game, there are times where characters will just either call you or appear to you. This is one of those, and ends up being really important. This older woman who goes by the name One Last Kiss kind of has an emaciated face with a gold mask on. Like obviously, Syndicate related, but this is a stranger to everybody. She says, her new name is One Last Kiss. She had to take that name because her old self was taken from her.
Yeah. She's very cryptic initially. Like she doesn't answer anything directly, but she says, hey, where do people go when they die here? Look for the grave of Grace Bloodlines, the person that Henry killed when he was first arrested. Back in the day, giving, again, people just tell you.
Yes.
Like they introduce a question and then tell you the answer. And we can see on our map, there's a graveyard on the island. So we can guess where people go or they die. We can also head on kind of on the way there or near there. There's the opulent ziggurat. This is where the slaughters take place. Pretty foul.
Yep.
Lots of blood fountains. Like these are not good people.
No.
Worth saving.
Yeah. It was pretty important to me that I went here early on and saw that because I had a reminder. I ended up liking some of these characters well enough and being like, geez, I hate to do this to you, buddy. You seem solid otherwise, but it's important to remember that none of this is redeemable. And
how many slaves can you murder and still be redeemable? How solid can you be if you take tens and tens of thousands of people and ritually sacrifice them after making them slaves.
It's just it's easy to forget when you're submerged in it. And
this slaver is my boyfriend. This slaver is my girlfriend. I ship this slaver with this slaver.
So you got to solve this little puzzle, rotating these 4 walkways. Each button moves the certain ones certain turns. It's just one of those little logic puzzle to line up the path to get to the syndicate graveyard portion of this, where the syndicate members who have died either by suicide or by violence are interred.
One of the graves is of somebody named Eyes Kawami. If you do a little nightmare computer puzzle, you get his blood vial, desecrating the grave. Your laptop runs it and reveals that this was Henry Division's father. We go to the grave of Grace Bloodlines and get her blood vial. The implication is we're digging in their graves to get their blood. And One Last Kiss appears and recites the blood code, confirming what she already told us, that she is Grace Bloodlines.
Yes. Yeah, nobody else would have known that. She still will not answer anything directly. She gives kind of these elliptical questions that imply that her death was a setup. There was more to this than just a violent demon did what a violent demon do. And ultimately she is of the opinion that the council deserved what they got, which same page. So she gives the report from Henry's murder spree 10 years ago. He didn't just kill Grace. Grace used to be the island's exorcist. The nature of the syndicate and the nature of the council is that nobody can do the same job. So they've just been without an exorcist for 10 years. Because there's no
lots of possessions.
Yeah, because there's no redundancy to it. Henry also killed his mother. Rena Division, and he burned demonic symbols into their skin. We're gonna learn that his mom had the symbols burned in, whereas Grace had them carved. That distinction is important.
When we press her for more information, we go down our list. We find her on top of the ziggurat. We find out Akiko and Witness both have motives for the murder. One wants to militarize the council. Akiko is definitely a single issue voter. And the Witness does not want the cycles to stop. If there is a perfect island, the Witness to the end is not needed.
Yes. Yeah. We'll go talk to Witness a little bit later. Witness had come to her to ask for secret informations about how demons got onto the islands. He was just really curious about this. His kind of stated motivation for wanting this forbidden knowledge was, if every island is ended by demons, it really actually benefits us to know where they come from, why, and how. Fearing that he would do something wrong with it, she did not give him anything that he didn't already know. Just basically gave him the publicly available information.
Yeah. If you ask her about demonology, she says Carmelina's plan for Perfect 25 would be to change the very concrete that makes the island in such a way that the demons could find no purchase. But she says this won't work. Instead of corrupting the island, they're going to latch onto the citizens, leading to more possessions.
Yeah.
So Perfect Island will not be perfect.
Right.
What is going on behind those white picket fences? Dr. Doom Jazz, who is a himbo with mechanical arms, lives at a yacht. Here, he has a sticker on one of his arms that says child labor, in case you're thinking he's one of the good ones. And he says he has a broken door that leads from his yacht to the council HQ, broken in that it doesn't track comings and goings.
Yes.
If you talk to him about it, he says he doesn't know anything about it, but that would give him an untraceable route.
Yes.
To the council HQ.
Yeah. Dr. Doomjazz. I can't look at Dr. DJ without thinking about DJ Dr. Rock from the Force MDs. So
sure.
I just get them mixed up.
Yeah. So, similar energies.
Yeah. real New Jack Swing kind of vibe to Dr. Doomjazz.
Yeah, all those New Jack Swing himbos. New Jack Swing himbo for newjackswinghimbo.com.
Doom Jazz was born in Scotland. It kind of has a punk mohawk kind of thing. He and LD had a fling early on.
He's had a fling with everybody.
Oh yeah, no,
He fucks them all, including citizens.
Yes, which is strictly forbidden. Like the syndicate isn't even really allowed to consume culture from the from the real world, let alone partake of the fruits of the flesh.
No one's going to create the blues out of old Negro spirituals for these slavers. Like, nobody gets to consume the culture. You mean what is one of the rules that you can't have sex with your slaves? In this world, but it's played for kind of fun laughs, and the fact that he does it is kind of like sexy and transgressive, as opposed to being actually monstrous as it is in real life.
Yeah, and it's kind of okay that he does it, but not when Akiko does. Okay, all right,
just vile. Like they're all slaves. Like fuck you, game. Like I just the fact that this is such shitbait. Like
depicting something in fiction is not endorsing it.
No, but other things that endorse it in the fiction are endorsing it. The fact that this is like the likable character that you flirt with and have sex with, and is arguably the most innocent person on the island, and compared to this crime, is like an endorsement. That is saying, like, I think that it is disingenuous for you to claim that people are not supposed to like this character.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm saying that people should. So they are trying to make him likable. That does end up that does end up being the thing. I think that the complication is kind of the interesting thing about that.
It feels so obviously condemnatory.
Yeah.
There's nothing interesting about it because he has sex with slaves.
Yeah.
Like where's the gray area? Where is like the place for nuance to live in just the most damnable act?
Is the tension is you find yourself being charmed, and then you remember, oh yeah, fuck this guy. How
did you forget? Like I mean, like that's the issue. Like I think this relies on you kind of getting Tumblr blinded by these designs to think like these guys are cool.
No, because I got tied up in the mystery, and when it ended up that he was like cooperative and was helping me out, I was like, okay, yeah, oh no, this guy's one of the good ones. And then they're all well, they're fucking JPEGs that change and have voice clips.
Characters like in fiction, like no, you don't get to have sex with slaves. You don't get to keep slaves.
I understand. I'm not saying it's a thing that's. I'm not saying it is something that is okay. I guess. Yeah.
It is a weird, like what it's asking for you to do, the tension it's trying to make interesting of me forgetting the crimes that these people are doing, but still liking them is impossible for me to experience.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to take it away from you if it was additive to you.
No.
But I cannot imagine it. Like, this guy's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they're all fucking demons. They're all just the worst.
No, they're all the fucking worst. I don't know that I'm being disingenuous by experiencing it that way, though. Yeah.
No, it's not. You're not being disingenuous by experiencing it. I think that if somebody was trying to say that, like, oh, you're not supposed to like him.
No,
that would be. I invented a guy to be mad at.
Okay,
that would be disingenuous.
Yeah, I was worried that you were saying that about me, and I was like, oh no. Okay. Yeah.
No, you were a victim. You got tricked. You got seduced by the old gods. You're not a perpetrator. Yeah. Gross. This guy's fucking gross. He's so undeniably and nonstop horny.
Mm-hmm.
For you, like it is constant double entendres, and why don't we go back in my yacht to fuck?
Yeah. He stopped doing that when I was given the option to flirt and didn't, which was nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if you tell him that you desecrated his friend's grave.
Yeah. Then he ices up. He does. You're
dig melter.
You're put in horny jail.
That really puts you in the flaccid zone when another demon desecrates the grave of your love.
So, but you can talk to him. He was the one who did the examination on Henry, but Akiko denied him the right to do an autopsy on the dead marshals, saying that it would be a desecration. They don't deserve to be cut up. So we don't actually, DJ cannot provide any real information about the switcheroo because he was kept from getting too close to the bodies.
Yeah. And he also cannot run blood samples for DNA for you. Mm-hmm. Specific ones are not in your computer because the servers are down, which is suspicious. Only 4 people can access them. 2 are dead. 2 are already on the next island, which, uh-oh. You can go dig around his apartment and his yacht, and we can find out that he carries a torch for Akiko.
Yeah.
He's got a picture of her.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go talk to her. And she'll call you around now and be like, hey, why haven't you solved this crime? And come talk to me yet.
Yeah. Like when you're headed over to her side of the island, you start to get close. She says like, hey, dipshit, just start the trial. Henry's in custody, but I've given you approval to get over to here if you insist on this. And this is like, it's a prison island. It's well off the coast. Like the bars that would stop you to getting on the walkway to get out there have been melted. The official story is that Henry used his demon powers to open it up, but Starlight will analyze it and say, hey, this isn't demonic magic. This is a thermite reaction.
Yep. A little pro tip, definitely unlock the fast travel here so you don't have to walk down the super long hallway for a very long time. When you get there, where the desolate cell where Henry is being kept, we can talk to both of them. Grand Marshal Akiku heads you off and gives you all of her testimony before you can ask.
Yes.
He overpowered her power armor, took her knife, and he fled the island. He would have 8 minutes to get to the council building, commit the murders, and your laptop, Starlight, says that's impossible.
Yes. Yeah.
This is kind of non-linearly presented, because it's a very cyclical looping game. But the Dr. Doomjaz's medical examination says he had the amount of inhibitors in him to stop him from doing things. Like he was properly dosed and drugged.
Yes. Yeah. About Akiko, she's the person who leads kind of the military here. Their primary job is to, stop demonically possessed people, but also, this is a police state. So, it is taking people from the citizens to police the citizens, led by this marshal. She's from Romania, and she will curse at you in Romanian. A lot.
Constantly.
It is, a full half of her dialogue. She fucking hates your guts.
Yes. I would kick myself if I didn't put this in here. This is a patina that covers the whole game and you can turn it off. But when you choose dialogue options, a character will say an unrelated bark. That is different than what they say. I understand that as a genre staple, but I hate it because I'm hearing something different than I'm reading. And the thing I'm hearing does not tell me anything. Like it doesn't give me an idea of the character. It kind of tells me their mood, but I could also get that from reading.
Yeah.
If you keep that on with the Kiku, I don't know what to tell you because it is just a nonstop parade of angry insults that distracted me from reading and getting through her dialogue.
Yes.
The devs were thoughtful enough to just be able to turn this off.
Yeah.
So I immediately turned off barks. I hate that genre convention.
Yeah, I turned them off after I had spoken to everybody and knew what their voices were supposed to sound like, and that was enough for me.
The good way to do that is have them say the first line of a paragraph, as opposed to something completely unrelated. Yep. And then that way you get an idea of their personality without having to have fully voiced dialogue. Yep. There is an optimal solution for this. It was solved in Torment, 1998, 1999. It is doable.
Yes. So on further questioning, we can, ask like, hey, Akiko, you're carrying a sword. You're the only person on the island, at least in the syndicate, who carries a sword. And it's a battle worn blade. It's nicked. Whereas the blade that Henry took from her, the knife was new and smooth. This, contradicts. This is contradicted by the wounds on the knife of the marshals. Right.
Yeah. Yep. She admits to breaking procedure. Because she, the night of the sacrifice and thing, because she allowed the marshals to gather and pray before they were ritually slaughtered. If you talk to Henry, he's very belligerent towards you. He's a slave. Yeah. So he hates the syndicate. He says somebody several years ago started giving him books on demonology before his possession. 10 years ago. The supplier called him a talented astral communicator, but he doesn't remember what happened when he was possessed. So he doesn't remember the murder last night. He doesn't remember the first one, but he does remember that it's a little bit different than his usual amnesia because he has the vision of seeing New Night, who is one of the goddesses, the warrior goddess. So he might have been around a statue of her, and there's only one statue on the island. It's in the barracks. Yeah. And only Akiku and the marshals can go there.
Yeah. I like the reason they give for there only being one statue. And it speaks a little bit into the process of like writing for this. It's important that there's only one statue of this, and the reason is, this goddess New Night, she only ever wants warriors to see her, and, to see her statue and worship her. Whenever they put out statues of her in the past, red lightning would strike it and destroy it. And talking about the process, like as they were trying to put together the mystery and find ways to make the clues work as they were building it out, setting it in this paradise setting with these gods gave them the ability to come up with cool in-universe reasons for why this was the case, right?
Yeah. Again, the source book of this I think is cool.
Yes,
like that should have been an entry on the New Night God page in a splat book.
Yeah.
IMO. We can go talk to Witness to the end. When we talk to him, we can find his phone, which we can collect phones on this and use them to gain positioning and stuff like that. We can, since Akiku called him, we can backtrack her position when she called him about the murder. Witness's character trait is that he is a religious zealot. He thinks the reason why all this bad stuff happened is because the syndicate are falling from their faith.
Yes.
The citizens are being insubordinate, the slaves, because of their imprisonment. They're not happy, and this has caused calamity. They're not doing their forced worship properly.
Right. The council and the syndicate have split goals. Their stated goal is to revive these gods, who have power over them. These are just alien demons who come from galaxies away, to come here, and creating the islands and perfecting the islands is supposed to better serve that. But the syndicate is so focused on making the islands perfect that they're just kind of half-hearted in their devotion to the gods. So, Witness has self-radicalized. He's one of the characters who is going to change the most, since LD had been exiled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you hang out with him, you can pay lip service to this if you'd like. He was here at the time of the murder. Carmelina, the architect, was here as well, and they corroborate each other's alibi. His nightmare computer confirms this. Akiku called him at 11:55 to report the escape, and we checked the phone records at the tower and find out that she called him from Syndicate HQ, not the Desolation cell. We can also get this information from talking to Witness, where he says, the background did not have the correct ambient audio.
Yeah.
And we can also find out that Witness's phone was used to call a non-syndicate number. It was placed at midnight. It lasted less than a second. So that's interesting.
Yes. It is strange. Next person I went to go see was the information broker. This is Crimson Acid. This is the only female character who is dressed provocatively. That's a little bit offset by the fact that she has a goat's head.
Yeah, she's supposed to be a huge, big sex pot.
Yes,
in the story.
Yes, but as you head over by the Citizen Apartments, these kind of low rises, she calls you and says, "Hey, I'm pretty hurt that you haven't come looking for me yet. I'm living in the sewers beneath these Citizen Apartments. Swing on by."
One reason I'm not come by. Your new apartment sucks.
Yeah, you're in the sewers, and you are not a teenage, a mutant, or a ninja, or a turtle.
Hey, Raphael, what's up? Hey, dude, why haven't you come visit me yet? I never visit you. It's fucking disgusting. Yeah. I want to walk something back. She is a reluctant sex pot. She's a sex symbol, but she doesn't like it. I'm not trying to reduce her character to being horny. She's presented as horny within the fiction.
Literally.
Because, against her will.
Yes.
We can go talk to her. She'll sell you secrets. She has a mandatory upgrade for your Starlight and then lots of skins. And something new to her is she has a goat head. She was blessed by the gods. The gods can change people's bodies if they like you.
Yes.
So this is our very high honor because one of the gods is a goat. Goats are holy to the gods in this world.
Kind of the main patron god that gave the syndicate their power is called the Silent Goat. It just kind of like there was this big there's a thing called this great betrayal in humanity's past where humanity turned on the gods and their worshippers. Anybody who stayed loyal to the Silent Goat, as the Silent Goat was killed, he kind of like separated up his power and gave it to the syndicate, and that gave them the ability to kind of create this little pocket away from the rest of the world. where they can create a hell for each other and not affect actual people outside of going and abducting them and enslaving them.
Yeah, affecting lots of actual people.
I mean, at large in society. Yes. Yeah. So she says that that LD is in trouble. Not everybody wants her to punish the people who are actually guilty here. Instead, this is a useful crisis. They're going to want you to, come to conclusions that will allow them to reshape the syndicate and council, to meet their own goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can ask all the characters, we can ask about their motive. Like, why would you want to kill the syndicate? Mm-hmm. And she says, I hated that Montserrat took my status as an idol and used me to placate the citizens. Also, we hated that he wrote her role as a secret peddler out of the new island. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be an information broker in a perfect island, but she says that wasn't enough to kill him.
Yeah.
At the time of the murder, she was in her sewer, waiting for Lydia to take her to the island. She doesn't have any proof of that. And you can start paying for secrets. Generally, you want these. Mm-hmm. This is not a shortcut. It's not like these are things you'll get otherwise. They're just, again, this is a book and you want to Roomba all of it up. Mm-hmm. So go collect all the coins to get all this stuff.
Yes. Yeah. This is something I prioritized after getting the footbaths and the and the other upgrades for the Nightmare computers. Yeah. So just broadly talking about individual people, we learn Akiko hates that she has to watch her family, the marshals that she commands, that she has to watch them get slaughtered in between every island reset. She wants them to be part of the syndicate, to go through and be immortal. But the council has always denied them admission to the syndicate as a security measure. Because if you have these, the same marshals who are immortal, you could have a military coup. Essentially, they could, because they outnumber the council, just there would be very little stopping them from, instituting something that was even more despotic.
Yes. And murdering the council would let her increase that militarization on the next island. Mm-hmm. Acid gives you a little proof, showing a record from the council, showing Akiko's motions for induction, and how these were unanimously shot down.
Yes.
She also tells you that Akiko falls in love with her marshals. Mm-hmm. She put her favorite one, Voth, in charge of guarding the council. He should have died, but those dead bodies aren't the marshals, so he might still be alive in the barracks.
Right.
We knew this, but getting confirmation is good.
Yes.
Or we didn't know all the details, but we knew, we had a guess.
Yeah.
Carmelina has a motive. She made a lot of motions to be admitted to the council, reversing the decree against her family. Each was denied. Again, not information. She just told us that. Mm-hmm. She also disappeared for a year, 25 years ago, and nobody ever learned what she was working on during that time, tying her on to the old mystery.
Yeah.
That's going to pop up.
Yep. And even the current one, that is a real load-bearing fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We learned that Doomjazz has a hell of a motive. He knows a secret about the founding of the council. Doomjazz's father was one of the founding members. It was actually the council's first military general, and Montserrat got him killed. Doomjazz had learned this from a council member named Kawami, Henry's dad, illegitimately. But Doomjazz and Akiko had this fling and learned that Montserrat had a suicide mission planned for her. So basically the same fate that happened to his dad. So Doomjazz would have, wanted revenge for his dad, but also to, stop him from doing the same shit to somebody that he cared about.
Yeah. Lydia used to be an assassin, but before she could leave her old life, her client forced her to do one last job, which was toppling a regime in Europe, and Sam helped her. The idea here is that they have experience toppling regimes. Mm-hmm. That is very flimsy.
Yeah.
We can ask about the witness's motive, and we find out he was very furious with Montserrat for focusing on making the perfect island and syndicate and kind of abandoning their mission to revive the gods.
Yes.
He thinks they're heading towards end times because they're lost in the sauce and they're no longer bringing back apathetic gods. They've only did one and they quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the final one that I had here was Grace Bloodlines, specifically the murder of her. Crimson Acid had intercepted a communication about the night of the murder. Carmelina had asked Akiko to be out of the room during the exorcism, dooming Grace, because if Henry wanted to kill her, there would be nobody there with any weapon to stop him. Carmelina should have had nothing to do with the exorcism, let alone pulling any kind of authority over Akiko.
Yeah. And we'll find out why Akiko listened. Yuri Knight is in the garden. He is the secretary to the architect. Doing all slavery to become somebody's personal assistant. He's this guy sucks. I find his character very annoying.
Vile.
I find the way he's dressed is really annoying. He's wearing kind of like a Dominican priest outfit, but with no chest covering.
It's literally just sleeves and a collar.
Yeah, I need everyone on this island to put on a fucking shirt. Like, it kind of drives me nuts. Like, I don't like seeing shirtless men, not just for straight reasons, but just because, like, I don't consent to it. Like, I'm just out in the world and, some jabroni's walking around without his shirt on. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's what it felt like being on this island, which is a big reason why this didn't feel like a paradise to me. Even slavery aside, it's like, I don't want to be on casual muscular nudity island. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, Yuri's an upstart. He was born on the island, and is a new member of the syndicate, and is just a climber, and is just kind of pretending to a higher status than he actually has. Always talks about listening to classical music and drinking the finest wines. He's kind of dressing for the job that he wants. We're going to learn more about why he is so proud of his cum gutters later on. But
cum gut, man. That's why you say a real Gary line. Cum gutters. Oh man. Like, I'm imagining it moving like when somebody spills blood on a rune in a movie. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Fucking gross.
That's the idea. That is a word that I have heard for abs, and specifically that weird, like the weird little Jesus hip line. Yeah,
it's a cool thing not to have abs for that reason alone.
So like, nobody can say that you have.
Pretty cool to have a sloppy gut.
Fuck. He thinks the investigation is a farce. He says Crimson Acid is the one who has the motive. It's the cigars you smoke. It's Crimson Acid who has it. He doesn't understand why she was blessed. He thinks, okay, that just means she wants more power. She's obviously done something to get up there, and this is projection on his part.
Yeah, pretty flimsy. Also, pretty evidently projection. There's not a lot of subterfuge in this game. He says that she's also unhappy with her role because she wants to fight demons. She doesn't want to be this sex symbol, and she wouldn't have a role on the perfect island. Again, this isn't revelatory. Like, she just straight up tells you that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
He says that he was here in the gardens directing Lydia all night, so he's kind of a traffic dispatcher and his immortal island paradise. We can ask for his phone. He doesn't want to give it to you, but he does it anyway. It says all the calls were originated by Yuri from the gardens, but there's a dark period from 11:50 to 12 midnight.
Yes. He says this is because of a blackout, because of the power source on the island, this reality folding engine, but it's real convenient, we're going to find.
Yeah. My favorite, or my first cool stretch of the game is this next bit. This is what I wanted the rest of the game to be like.
Yes.
You can go to, so I was like, what's up with this K-Hex guy? And you go to his workshop on the mountain, and we actually get to explore a place and find clues and stuff. Like, it's not just a big list of paragraphs of things. He has been thrown off a mountain. Onto the beach. We can see in his hand, he's gripping a ring with a blue gem. So whoever did this came from the front. They caved his skull in because it's from the front. It's probably somebody who knew, detective stuff. Like, the character just tells you this, but it feels cooler than just reading it. We can go up to his workshop, and we can see that he was obsessed with Crimson Acid. There are posters of her like everywhere, including like a diary. He talks about how he would ascend to heaven with Crimson as his queen.
Yeah.
All pretty gross stuff. Implied to be jerking off to a tuft of her hair in his bathroom. I don't know why else that would be in the bathroom. That's what I read from it.
Gross. Yeah. Either that or, she inadvertently left it there, when she was around, because, and he wasn't doing this without any basis.
Yeah, she was leading him on.
Yeah. There's an unsent letter here, though. Things had taken a dark turn, accusing Crimson Acid of using him to get code for the second seal. Like, yes. Like that's all that you wanted. He's not wrong.
Yeah. Another envelope with Akiku's necklace. She had wanted him to repair it. That's what he does. He's the engineer. Yeah. On the side of his workshop, we can find the drag marks where he's taken off the cliff. So he was killed up here and thrown off.
Right.
We go talk to Crimson about this, which I immediately did. And she's like, yeah, I really wanted to know about the second seal because it's the biggest secret on the island.
Yes.
He was obsessed with me, so I used this to get what I wanted. He ended up like... I strung him along to get this decryption key, and I had a favor at Masahiro Industries, which is one of the council members, to figure out that I had done this, but I never used the key. But if you go to the beach, you're going to figure out, what happened here.
Right.
There's a code thing. There's one of the lock thingies.
Yeah. So you can go there, and, they're out at a dock. There's a bulletin board with a strange notice. Yuri had shut down the boat rides on the island 2 days ago. LD surmises like, the effect that would have had is, nobody would have driven by the remote beach where KX's body was dropped. So, it's pretty convenient that was the result. You can go to the shrine and use a nightmare computer there, and it actually controls these obelisks down on the beach, revealing the answer to the second seal on this little star map. These like obsidian hands raise up from the sand, kind of holding these colored gems, and light up in the order that you're supposed to press the symbols. Bird, snake, bull, and scholar. Something that is cool about the island, like visually, is it is completely riddled with statuary of all sizes, from like Mount Rushmore, gods that are embedded into the side of mountains, down to smaller human-sized kind of things. I think that is a neat design element.
Yeah, the aesthetic is good.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job with the general aesthetic of what the island looks like as you're kind of walking around it.
Yeah.
So we can go there. We get this little map, or this little code rather, and the computer reveals that Yuri accessed this computer, which means that he went through the second seal, lines up with the helmet with the pink pedals. So we got our evidence there. A wireless device was attached to this obelisk computer, and it was hooked up to an anonymous login 2 days ago, and you would need line of sight. I wanted this to also be something that I had to figure out more myself. Like where has line of sight from here, but I spent some time on that. That was not well rewarded.
Yeah.
We can head up to the cliffs behind the platform here, which is, there's one of the places that has line of sight. And the cool thing here that you find, the good part of it, is you find tire tracks.
Yeah.
Which means that Lydia was here. She's the person with a car. So that might be her.
So we need to figure out what's going on. Because I had already talked to Lydia earlier, and I was real curious about this red skeleton. I wanted to go talk to Sammy first. They're kind of they're a pair. They're kind of like treated as the same entry in the suspect list because they're married. Sammy and Lydia Daylight. Yeah.
Yes. On the island, there's no expectations of monogamy unless you are married. It's a weird little implicated detail.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I'm not saying that's weird in general, like that's true in real life in some ways, but
right.
Immortals being married ends up being a thing. Sam does not have a lot of information to you. He is a red skeleton in a fuckboy uniform, like he would be showing his cum gutters if he had skin. So we have to actually talk to Lydia, but what tells us more than Sam is checking out his environs. If we go into his storeroom, there are some locked safes. One contains a lump of non-human flesh. When we look at it, it makes you feel the cosmos. God flesh ends up being an important key item. The other is a pile of these bunker gauntlets, which are these weapons that can punch through thick material.
Yes. Sam, like Lydia, used to be an assassin. He actually died when he encountered Lydia. They fought for days and days. She killed him, but something I think it was his patron god, kind of like brought him back as this immortal skeleton. And then they were both recruited to be a part of the syndicate. Yeah.
He also has a little secret passage behind his bar here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it goes to a place called the Dead Zone, which I think is visually cool looking. A little like whiskey still in the background with a blood fridge, specifically for cooling blood, with a vial in it. The label is scratched off, but it began with the letter K here. Yeah. And we can't really get him to say anything about this because it's not that kind of game. Yeah. Once we have this information, we go talk to Lydia.
Yeah. The Dead Zone, for people who are listening to this for Game as a Service. So when Henry was corrupted 10 years ago, that, the violence there was a huge problem, but also demons start like physically corrupting the space around where they take root. And the Dead Zone is like this big sarcophagus building that is placed over the corruption in order to contain it. So inside it is this like ruined block of apartments. It's real eerie. Like there is a specific music track that plays in here as ambience because you can't connect to your tapes when you're in there, and it's all fucked up. The fact that there is a way for somebody to get in here secretly is a big no-no. You're just not, it's not a place that you're supposed to go because it is, dancing with demons.
When we go talk to Lydia, she tells us a bunch of information before we grill her. Carmelina has motive because Montserrat wasn't planning on giving her credit for the perfect new island. Like the architect didn't do it. Strange case as well. He wanted to be on the council and wasn't, and he also got super buff overnight, which is why he dresses like a clown.
Yeah, Yuri. It kind of cut out there. Yuri was the strange case, and just he got buff, which is real weird. There's a specific god.
Suits. It's an old circus term. Sure, we used him a little bit.
Yeah. But there's a specific god that rewards the followers with physical perfection. It is considered like among the syndicate to be a real bad sign if you're worshiping a god other than the one you were born under, as like an astrological sign, because the gods are just demons by another name. They're also whispering things to you and corrupting you. That's what happened to Lady Love Dies, right?
The cosmology around like what the people are actually getting from this worship and why they would want to bring back the gods was something like even after reading all the lore notes, still ended up feeling unclear about like kind of the value proposition of it. Like you have to worship them, but we just want the citizens to like gain power, like gain organ energy or whatever. Yeah. And then, but if we worship them, like horrible things happen, and also they're malevolent and trying to get us killed. Yeah. All the time. Like it as far as a cult goes, like cults don't tend to make very much sense. This one also does not make tons of sense to me.
A rational cult is called a corporation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It just feels like they already have their superpowers. Like they could just stop with all the god stuff.
Yeah. I think it's implied, that they should have just said this. I think it's implied that if they stopped, at least paying like lip service to the gods, then they would run afoul of the council, and be denied either further immortality or. But
the council also though was not being pious.
Oh, they were real lackadaisical.
Yeah. Like they basically stopped worshiping as well, and nothing seemed to happen to them. And something did happen to them, but not from the gods. Like the
did it, Gary? Did it?
The amount of touch the gods have in this felt like a piece of like narrative slop. To me, not a huge way, and there could have been like an airtight explanation of this, and I'm just not remembering every lore note I found. So might be the case. So anyways, Yuri was rejected. Yeah. And he became super violent. They had to restrain him, and he swore revenge on Montserrat, which is just, again, everyone's such a messy bee in this. That there's no room for subtlety.
Yeah. You'll live to regret this.
Like, whoops. Jimmy, not Jimmy. This kind of chicanery is nothing. And he gets to be a lawyer. So the entire end scene is everyone doing a Chuck. So Lydia says that she tried calling Yuri around midnight but couldn't get through. That 10-minute comms blackout is news to her there. Mm-hmm. And we ask about the tire tracks above the beach, and she's like, I just like going up there for the view. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about the second seal.
Right. She calls the listening device that we found up there circumstantial evidence. Like, there's nothing that links those two things together. You know that. She tries to say like, hey, don't be ridiculous. What that means is, come back when you have more context around this. Yeah. Something to link them.
But you have to read more of the book.
So at this point, at least in our discussion here, we have gone and spoken with everybody. And we have enough information and we have the code to get through the second seal. We can actually get into the crime scene, and get some real important information, get them enter a new phase of the investigation. So, we have the code in hand. We go out to outer space, and press the symbols and then get through the far door back into our reality up in the penthouse level of the council building, where we encounter the third seal.
Mm-hmm. Which is a blood lock. It's coded to council blood. There are two anomalies here. An unknown person with council blood came through last night. This is the son of Ais Kwame and her division. He has council blood. And someone who had access to the blood of Kafka Memory, another character, was in the chamber for 2 minutes, 2 days prior to this.
Yeah.
This could have been Kafka Memory himself or Sammy, who had that blood vial with the K in his fridge.
Yes.
And if we go to Doom Jazz might have a record of blood samples that were missing.
Right.
Put the story together.
Yeah. So, all the seals are open at this point. The fourth seal has kind of this barrier of electricity and eyes in the doorway. There's a data port here, and Starlight, your little AI, will tell you that whoever passes through here must, quote, prevent evidence of godliness.
Yeah, or present.
Yes.
Not prevent evidence.
Sorry. Present.
That's weird. What do you want?
Yeah. Must present evidence of godliness. We're going to eventually learn that this means actually kind of like scanning a piece of God flesh. Yeah.
Yes. Or a CD by God smack. The system's fried, though, because there was a big atrocity here and needs to be rebooted so we can walk on in. We figure out, again, that must have been the flesh of Crying Grudge, who's the only god who's currently around. And that might have been what Sammy had in his fridge.
Yes.
There's also a smear of blood on the fourth seal that has some of Ais Kwame's DNA on it, but does not belong to Henry.
Yeah. Kind of just terminates into a wall, kind of strangely, the smear of blood. So we go inside, and it's a bloodbath, actually. Like all of the council is dead. And there are kind of two anomalous things. One, there's a spray of blood on the wall that was caused by a bullet, that was caused by firearms. This exit wound, looking at it, there is some of Carmelina's DNA. There's, kind of introducing the possibility that she has a child on this island who was present in this locked room crime scene.
Given that she doesn't have a bullet wound on her.
Right.
There's also a killer demon. Looks like a doom demon, kind of, in the penthouse. It's been shot in the head. The bullet is lodged in its head. Montserrat, if we check his body, has this pendant on it and this old Fukada gun that's been fired twice.
Right.
Here. The rest of the council members were all killed with a smooth blade. There's no skin under their fingernails, so there's no, defense wounds. They didn't struggle. They didn't know what was happening. So this could have been Henry or Akiko's blade, but it also could have been the demon's knife-like claws.
Right. Yeah. So this could be tied to Henry, who had led demons onto the island. Shinji is proof that the marshals, though they're really proud of, running a tight ship, obviously they some stuff could have gotten through. And the evidence here is that the demon was snuck into the penthouse ahead of the meeting for the end of the island inside of this crate that has like a bunch of warding stuff on the inside of it and a little device kind of attached to it. They could have been remotely opened as this hands-free murder weapon. So we have, two things here that likely could have been that likely could have been what actually killed all of the council members present.
Yeah. It's to me, it beggared belief a little bit that the council is just like, oh, mysterious crate that's big enough for a demon with voice symbols all over it.
Right.
It really feels like a failure of see something, say something to me. And I just kind of like, this felt like a very obvious way to do this. I almost wanted this to be like a teleporter or something.
Yeah.
Less, a little less obvious. So this thing, was unlocked, as we mentioned. It's the same number that Witness at the end called. Just pinning it on him, like we know at this point. Like there's not really a mystery. Like he did the thing.
Yeah.
Now that it's open, we can kind of chase down these leads for the case files that we have to kind of organize the rest. You spend a lot of time just kind of running and jumping and air dashing to these different bullet points. We've also probably got the third upgrade by this point that kind of shows all collectibles on the map. So they want you to do this. I think that the ideal for me, what I wish I had done, I don't wish I'd done this because I didn't like it. I didn't like doing it. But I think that the smoothest experience for me would have been giving somebody else the controller to let them do all of the running around and collecting.
Yeah.
And then just giving me the game once the island was scoured. Like I wanted this to be like a hunt a killer mystery that I read.
Yes. So the rest of this episode, up until we get to the trial, it's literally I just took all of my notes and organized them based on the broad questions related to some of the bigger mysteries here and the case files. And yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about the way that this information is unfolded to us before we get to the trial.
Yeah. And we won't repeat, like a lot of times the trial is just going to confirm the stuff where you probably don't need to spend tons of time just saying that the trial confirmed it.
Yes.
People lose their mind and freak out and call Jimmy out for chicanery during it. But it's, that at that point, we've already found the information. Doing this is the game part.
Yes.
So we are now playing the mystery game, is figuring this out and then checking our answers versus the key in the back. So figuring out how Henry ended up like this, if we check school record or find school records at some point, find out that Henry is always a problem. He had messed with demons before. If you get your relationship meter with him up enough, he gives you the safe code to his apartment. And when you go there, we find a copy of the Grimoire of Majida, which must have been the book that introduced him to demonology that Yuri must have took out a decade ago.
Yeah. So this lines up. The stranger that gave it to him, was Yuri. And, this is a little bit backed up. Like if you ask Henry about like individual motives or alibis, like, hey, like his answer is, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know any of them because that's not his life,
he's asleep.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the secretary to the architect / dispatcher of paradise.
He's a real big wheel down at the misery factory.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and that's how Henry got into demons. What really happened to Grace? So we can go to Akiko and say like, hey, we heard that Carmelina told you to leave the room during the exorcism. You gonna let somebody punk you like that? And she denies it, and Henry can't remember anything about it that night. If you go to Doom Jazz, he'll give an important detail because he was the one who examined Grace's body, which is that the sigils were carved with a blade, while everyone else that Henry has killed directly, the demon has burned them, and Akiko does admit that Henry did not have a knife on him. But there was no way that this could have physically happened, given the way that demonic possession works in this universe.
Yeah. One little bit of, to me, pretty non-intuitive puzzle adventure game stuff that I did not like is if you want to explore the barracks, you have to get rid of the marshals because they'll stop you. It almost looks like it's going to be like an intolerable stealth section. It's not, but the way you get them away is you vent gas in another building to draw them all away for an emergency. This was not something where like I looked at the barracks and figured out a way out of it. It's something where I stumbled upon a button, pressed it because why wouldn't I? It vented gas, and then later found out that had drawn the marshals away. It wasn't something that like a problem I solved.
Yeah.
It was a button I pushed that just moved the story forward.
It's very incongruous. There's like one other puzzle that just does not seem to belong in this game. And you know, so this is kind of one of two of those that ends up happening. Yeah.
And there's a good version of it. Like, I need to cause a distraction for guards. Give me an adventure game puzzle. Like, I look outside the building. I see, you know, the video games do this.
Yes.
This game decided not to do it.
Yeah.
When we get in there, there's a server there that has an encrypted file. It's a photo of Grace Bloodlines after being strangled. And if we talk to Doom Jazz, he says, yeah, I took this photo, but Akiko confiscated it. The strangulation marks are really weird because whoever did this was wearing a wedding ring. And Witness confides that he and Carmelina were briefly married. It didn't work out. They broke up 9 years ago, so the time frame would have worked out.
Yes. So, you know, the two married people that we know of, you know, it is not that it had to be Lydia or Sam. You know, this puts Carmelina and Witness kind of in play for this, and Carmelina was there and left alone. So Carmelina is the one what strangled Grace. We need to figure out who iced K-Hex. Like, you know, we can talk to Lydia. And, you know, she will confide after we get our relationship high enough with her that Yuri was freaking out at Syndicate HQ recently. He had lost his ring and was lashing out at everybody saying like, you know, hey, did you take it? You can show her the sapphire ring that you got from KX's body. And she confirms like, yeah, that's the one in question. Only Yuri would wear something that gaudy.
Yeah. Yep. He denies it. You know, he has no connection. It was made for him, but somebody probably found it and stuck it on his body, recognizing the design to frame him.
Yeah.
Crimson Acid confides that while she did seduce him for the purposes, Witness asked her to do it for his own purposes as well. So she wanted to know the secret, but the Witness also wanted the secret.
Yeah.
To the second seal. And Crimson Acid created the transmission device that he used.
Yeah. Which is tricky because does that actually make her guilty of breaking into it? Yeah, it's
yes.
I
mean, it's up to you, but everybody who can be guilty is guilty, in my opinion, because they're all slavers, immortal slavers.
Yeah, they all deserve the bullet. Yeah. So like multiple people wanted something from K-Hex, but Yuri is the one who has the physical evidence related to it. The reason that Crimson Acid would have cooperated with Witness had promised her a new arrangement on the second island, saying, hey, you don't have to be the idol anymore, you can do what you want. She had no idea. She says that she didn't know it would result in murders with this.
Yeah. And Akiko tells you that Crimson Acid came to her asking to join the Marshals, but Akiko is the only syndicate member who can fight.
Yes.
There. Crimson Acid just wants to be a warrior again instead of a sex symbol.
Right.
In terms of how Henry escaped, we talked to Akiku about her phone record being different, and she says the encryption bounces the signal around, so it leads to a false report. All of Akiku's denials are just like technology doesn't work.
Yep.
Which is never true.
Right.
And because if it did, the mystery wouldn't be good. It would just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you told me a lie. Good job. Witness confides that he couldn't hear the sounds of the desolation sound, the wrong background ambience when she called. And we find the goddess statue of New Night in the barracks. So Henry's memory of last night implies that he took a route through the barracks.
Yeah, which would have allowed the time to line up. It is a shorter route than a normal than a rando would have been able to take.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the island with the Paradise Gate, we find this device. It's a sonic warfare weapon that sends something called a psychic death scream at Henry's cell. Doom Jazz is the author of the file that's playing it. And if we take it to Doom Jazz and say, like, hey, could this cause an adrenaline spike? It can. And he says, whoever did this must have been aware that demons are attuned to death screams. This would have given a demon a superhuman burst of demonhood.
Yeah. The ability to kind of break out with it. And Doom Jazz will confide in you if you get your relationship up high enough that he has treated witness for these death screams. Basically, when a person dies, there's this release of psychic energy, thing like Jedi, like, oh, I felt a million voices scream out at once, like that kind of thing. But random people just through trauma or some kind of resulting accident can become attuned to them whenever somebody dies, they just feel it. And witness is being treated for this. He's being given migraine medicine and just mitigating it. But this is kind of coinciding with the general kind of deterioration in witness to the end's mental health, kind of along with his radicalization and zealotry. He's gotten really paranoid. He's just double checking everything behind him all the time. He never takes a phone call when somebody else is in the room. A bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. And when we talk to him, he says he's innocent. He wouldn't do that because it's torture.
Yeah.
To figure out the marshals, there's a server room inside the barracks where we figure out Akiku removed 2 prisoners the day before the murder. They aren't accounted for, so it's pretty obvious what happened, and it's pretty obvious why. She didn't want to kill her marshals. It's hard to get any information from the marshals because they're loyal to her and not the syndicate. So that becomes its own piece of evidence. We get testimony from them, but not evidence.
Yes. Yeah. And just like there's, you can't ask them a question and rely on the answer because they're always going to, try and get their mistress off.
Yeah. They suck. Jerks.
Yeah.
Yuri claims that the reality folding drive caused the comms blackout. It sends out this burst when an island's about to end. But we can point out to Yuri that he used the device at the beach, and he denies doing anything with the obelisks before you even accuse him of doing anything with them. He doesn't have any reason to know about these obelisks. He's just sussy because this is a game full of sussy bees.
Yeah. He just volunteers too much information. It's like, oh, I never said he was stabbed with a knife. Yeah, and that kind of thing. Again, the closest this comes to what I like in detective work here, but I just ran into that by just writing down all the options I had. Yeah.
Like I didn't have to choose the thing that would rattle him. He was just rattled as part of the linear text.
Yeah. One of the cool crime scenes that you can just kind of find by exploring. And I realized, if I had looked up, I would actually see what leads to this. But after you get all of your movement abilities, you can get on top of the council building. Not like actually inside like the penthouse or anything, but just onto the roof. And there are tire marks on the ceiling near one edge. It's Lydia again. She's the only person with a car, and there is rappelling gear. There's like a grappling hook kind of stuck into the roof, and there is a rope leading down to the kind of like maintenance area with the AC units. Where the service grate was jimmied open with that blade. So somebody had the ability to get up onto the roof and get in here behind the seal marshals and go right to the second seal.
Yes. Yeah. There's a little puzzle we can do out by the docks where you manipulate these cargo cranes with skulls to move a container off of a boat. This gives us a space helmet that smells like Lydia's perfume. So she also went in there. When we press her about that, she says somebody planted it. However, in the conversation at the beginning of the game, she says she only knows that only she knows that recipe for that perfume. So she's lying, guilty. Shoot her in the head. The logs at the Paradise Gate confirm that Lydia and Sam were at the gate around 11:56.
Yeah.
They don't want to be alive anymore anyway.
Don't even want to be around anymore.
They don't.
No. Because what drives them? Lydia will confide in you, and you can find hard evidence about this, and other people will talk about it, that she and Sammy won out. They're bored of eternity. Paradise sucks. There's like nothing for them to do. Like they talk about all the hobbies they pick up. But no, they just we just want to go live in the real world. But the syndicate will not let them leave. They've made appeals, but if you're in, you're in. The only way out of this is to be killed. But she, if you ask her about this, this is not enough to get them to kill the council, though. They say,
yeah. everyone says their motivation that's not enough to kill, but it is enough to help kill.
Yes.
Like, you didn't ask me specifically if it was enough to help kill the council, which is the answer to everyone who's questionably innocent.
Yeah.
This. Akiku will also spill the beans. They've been meeting out by the farms, gathering these valve handles. You can also just do this at any time. I just did this because there were valve handles about.
Yeah.
Once you do this, tablet floats up after you turn all the spigots. And we see that Witness sent her the data encryption key for the nightmare computer that's on the beach, the one that reveals the code, the second seal for remote access. And if we talk to her, she's like, hey, I got that message. I didn't know what it was. It crashed my tablet, so I threw it away. Not true.
Right.
Dr. Doomjazz confirms that Kafka Memory's blood sample is missing, but the security alarm didn't go off. This either puts Doomjazz or Sam at the scene of the crime. Sam was snooping in his clinic at one point.
Yeah.
And if we ask Sam about this, he says, I have a prescription for regularly sourced blood infusions because my body is failing. The story behind the reason why Sam is a skeleton is it was two immortal assassins who met on a battlefield, one of which killed the other one, and then that one found out he was in love after days of fighting. So his skeleton came back to life.
Yes. Yeah.
As a love skeleton.
Yeah. So it's unclear if this is true or if it was just pretextual to get to get the blood sample that he would need. Sam will admit to distilling the whiskey in the dead zone. He says, "Yeah, no, I was doing it out of curiosity for the what flavors of the corruption would bring about." He's a real, he's real kind of particular about his mixology kind of thing. If you press him about the K-blood vial, he gets real evasive, but he flails and reveals too much. He talks about like, I don't have that vial, and reveals that he knows that the blood lock is for the third seal before you even mention anything about it. So he, it is a damning piece of evidence.
We talked to One Last Kiss. We'll say that through the fourth seal, it's keyed to God flesh, but demon flesh could trick it because there's not really a difference between those things. So we take a jet ski out to this pyramid where the god Crying Grudge is located. He's this big skeleton spewing out smaller skulls. This is one of the few times I thought that the dialogue in this game was cool. I think this is a really cool set piece. Yeah. And I like the idea of they're only able to get one god back and he's just kind of vibes. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And Crying Grudge is annoyed because people come around too much. Montserrat came here, so did Witness and Carmelina. Finding out that somebody came here is a big deal because they can carve off his flesh, which the Witness did and Carmelina did.
Yeah. I like this. He's, the one person that he respects is Carmelina, and it's only because her plan was better than everybody else's. Yeah. So he says, she took the flesh and fused it to somebody else.
Yes.
And the only other person would have been Montserrat, who took his flesh and wore it in a pendant around his neck. That's how they would have gotten into the council past the fourth seal. The leader needs to be present whenever they call a meeting. It can't just be a partial council.
Yep. We got the special, the bomb ring demon that was sent. Crimson Acid will say the Witness was dabbling in demonology in a bunker that Carmelina designed on the island for him down in the dead zone. If you go down there and find this bunker, Carmelina hasn't entered it for ages, but the Witness has been there 2 days ago. Yeah. And it's full of scientific and medical equipment, and also the same kind of crate that holds demons.
Yes. Yeah. You can press him.
Talk to him about it.
Yeah. You can press him about this. He knows about the bunker. Because he and Carmelina used to spend time there. It was like a lover's retreat. They used to be married. But he denies any knowledge of any experiments there. It's like, dude, there's an MRI machine in there. Those things take up that's a whole room.
Yeah. A lover's retreat unlike your house. Carmelina says the Witness was using the bunker to study demons is to better understand them for the sake of the islands, since they're the main antagonist, and admits that Witness stepped out on the balcony to take a phone call from Akiku, so she didn't have eyes on him for the whole time, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And she says that she saw him pull out his phone and fiddle with it at midnight. He didn't leave the room. He wasn't taking a call.
Yeah. So that was the 1 second call that we found, the one to the latch on the box, right?
Yes.
And the biggest oh shit moment. This is kind of this game's version of the Danganronpa turn. Is the corridors, which you're very unlikely to find if you're not poking around at every corner of these islands, which is nuts, because like this unlocks everything. This is super crucial to getting a correct answer, a correct verdict at the end of this.
Yeah. It makes it, anytime there's a locked room mystery, there's some kind of secret corridor.
Yep.
That happens. Like, this is a cool moment. I liked finding out that the corridors were here. I'm not crazy about Dainonagate or Dainonagati or whatever. I don't think that's a cool character, nor that cool of an idea in terms of the conspiracies. That was a little bit irritating to me. So good to know if that's the kind of turn that they do in Danganronpa.
Yeah, you weren't going to play those games anyway. So.
No, I know, but it lets me know a little bit more about them.
Yeah,
like if this is what they're trafficking in. Again, and happy it works for you and people it works for. I didn't think it was that cool. I liked the idea of the corridors more than I liked the idea of this secret kid.
Yeah. So what you do, with those pile driver gauntlets that you found, you can go to this vault entrance that is up near One Last Kiss's kind of perch up by the Syndicate graveyard. You can use those gauntlets to punch through and drop down into a fallout shelter kind of room. It's a very sparse room, just with like some combat training gear. And there is a young man who has this pink diamond
fire starter.
He is a twisted fire starter.
He's got the fire starter haircut. Maybe that's why I didn't think he was that cool. Because he does look like you come in to where they've been storing the Prodigy all these years.
So that's where they went. I don't like his visual design. He's got kind of this pink diamond painted or tattooed on his face. He's wearing this gaudy necklace. He's got a wide open kind of like fancy suit shirt. But notably, he has a gunshot wound in his chest. And at first he mistakes us for his mother, because his mother is the only person who's ever really interacted with him. And he tells us his name. He is Dainonagate. It's said a couple of different ways. He was born in darkness to be kept a secret from everyone.
Yes. His mother and the man abandoned him when he failed his purpose, which was to kill the council. So he's a boy bomb. He was shot in the struggle. So the Carmelina DNA that we found on the wall lines up with this. He got shot and her mom blood came out. Yeah. He says there's another monster there that they didn't expect. That's going to be the demon. He gives you the key, which his mother doesn't know that he made, saying that you need to learn why there was no room for him in paradise. And then he slits his own throat.
Yes.
Yeah. So we grab his blood sample from his throat. Starlight runs it. He's not in our databases, but he's a partial match for Carmelina, and the blood was used for the third seal lock. So he was at the scene.
Yes. And his blood also has matches for Ai's Kiwami, which means that, he is the half brother of Henry Division. So, these two syndicate members got together and had a kid, and Carmelina locked him away from everybody, kept him a secret, training him to be the perfect assassin. He has a strange flesh that is fused with his body, lying up with what Crying Judge had said about Carmelina's plan. And the knife that he had used to slit his own throat, it's a smooth blade. It's perfect. There are no nicks. And that lines up with the wounds on the council members. It has blood from all the council members, and none from the, quote, marshals who were at the front gate, those two prisoners who were in martial uniforms.
Yes. His key gets you into this nexus, this little like pocket within a pocket, nexus that shouldn't exist, that Carmelina, with her superpowers, can build, that has portals that lead to different places on the island. So it answers a lot of questions of how people got places quickly. There were teleporters. One portal is rough hewn, made by Dainonagate, as he retreated from the council penthouse. So that's why his blood ended at the wall. There, he kind of just walked through a portal. He can make gates like his mother can. Yeah. Carmelina couldn't have built that corridor because she had no idea of knowing exactly where it went. But Dainonagate could do it because he had bypassed the seals manually. It's kind of Nightcrawler rules where you have to know where you're going.
Yeah. You have to know where the exit's going to be punched out. There are a few different kind of places where these go. One of the portals leads to the witness's penthouse up on his balcony there. Carmelina could have stepped through this and gotten down on a gate in position in the lobby of the council building where another portal goes, over the time of the 5 minutes when witness was out talking on the phone. Yeah.
So we've scoured all the island for things. I want to take I know this is a long episode. I'm going to take one moment also to mention that there are maybe a dozen or between like 10 or 9 little side quests with dogs and puzzles and ghosts where you solve their murders. Things like that, that they hide crucial things in. Like we've referenced buying upgrades for your Starlight. You actually only buy one. The other one you get through soda machines, and the third one you get, or one of the other ones you get from doing a ghost side quest to get inside his locker. An unrelated thing. But everything that isn't that just gives you blood crystals.
Yeah.
There's tons of little side stuff that is without value. And you have no way of knowing whether it is going to be of value before you do it. One ghost gives you this thing you need to get the story. Another ghost gives you 2 blood crystals. And there's nothing to differentiate the two.
Yep.
So just spend a lot of time doing that.
Problem.
The reason why I bring it up here is because this is when I was scouring the island to make sure I had the full story. Like, again, the game wants you to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So once you have an idea, you can go talk to the judge and start the trial. You process each of the cases that are in Starlight, and you just accuse somebody and then click through the evidence you have.
Yeah.
There's no, somebody has an alibi and you have to pick the piece of evidence that contradicts.
Yeah. You're not
just go through the list.
You're not going through their testimony, up there as witnesses. What this is, I mean, to explain the level on which this works for me, what this is doing is, just kind of checking your work. You come in here with an idea of what happened, kind of a theory of the case. And as you are going and looking, at the accrued evidence that you have, you should already have an idea of who did this, of, who is the most likely person. And the verdict will be accepted if you have collected enough of the evidence and enough of the testimony that the judge will be convinced that there is no plausible deniability for them not having done it. So you're doing kind of all of the work in your head and in Starlight on your way here. You're not doing any of the work while you are in the trial.
Well, you don't even really have to do the work on your way here. Like the work is just reading the book.
Yeah.
Because it'll just put it into Starlight under the right people. And when you're choosing the people for the crime, it just shows all their evidence and you just get to review it again and choose the person.
Yeah.
So there's something missing in me. Like this felt very obvious to me who did everything.
Yeah.
There are red herrings, but if you collect everything, something definitely happened. I was expecting them to do a lot more with the truth is what you make it.
Yeah.
Once love dies, the only thing that remains are facts, and facts are not truth, or philosophical Denny shit that the game does. But it's very obvious. Like I wasn't using my brain a whole bunch during this. This was not a detective game.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the evidence didn't really point to a lot of different things. What it was rewarding was my roommating. The fact that I went all the way around the island and exhausted all the dialogue options. And I don't want to be rewarded for reading a complete book. I want to be rewarded for things that involve choice or fail condition, or that's something that engages my brain. Like this, I feel like is a game that's elaborately designed to give you the feeling of doing that. And you can do it. You can sit down with your own cork board and like put everything together. The game doesn't do anything to encourage or systematize that.
Yeah.
Like you can just do it if you want.
Yeah. My experience with it was, not for all of them. Like there were some of them where it was a slam dunk based on, based on, what I had found by being thorough. But for enough of them, for me, it was like, okay, it's pretty clear who is responsible for this, but there are accessories, and it is left to me to decide, who is the actual, like, the person with maximum culpability on this, because there were, and it was up to me to kind of discern, all right, who do I have the strongest case for versus, who actually deserves to get, who deserves to get it for this. And that's where it kind of came down to making an interesting choice. And I felt grateful that I had found, a number of things, including the corridors, to help kind of cut through the knot, and feel more certain in the conclusions that I reached. That's the way that it worked for me.
But that's the way it worked for me too. I just don't think that I should have been rewarded for finding the corridor. Like that wasn't a challenge or an exercise in my brain. That was an exercise in my fastidiousness in collecting everything. You know what I mean? Like the game did all the processing for it.
Yeah.
The game, the corridor means something. The corridor changes the light of evidence, but Gary didn't decide that.
Yeah.
Lady Love dies or the computer said it.
Yeah.
Like the character just literally says, oh, this means this piece of evidence is different.
Yeah.
Like very little of me in this game. Like it's one of the least gamey things we've done for the show, actually. Like you play a platformer, collectathon, that is the most gamey thing, but it's Gone Home, which I think Gone Home is a game, but it is just really, if you collected everything, the story.
Yeah.
The only difference is there's an answer key at the end.
So what's funny is I don't see it as rewarding collection for like specific things, like the the rooftop rappelling gear or the corridors and stuff. I don't see the game as like it rewarding or incentivizing collection. I see it as rewarding exploration. Like specifically it was, oh, you walked in a direction kind of based on a hunch that something would be there, and it was there, and it was more of the story. It should do it more, but there were crucial times where that's what it felt like it was testing me for, was, did you intuit, places to go, based on what was available to you.
The reason why that doesn't, like, I understand that, and I think that's a game they could have made. The fact that it incentivizes exploration everywhere with its collectathon stuff, like, undermines that to me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter whether I chose to go on that roof, because the game wants me to go everywhere. And the reason it wants me to go everywhere is because it puts lore notes, Shinjis, and blood crystals that are necessary in the game everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think the game is designed for you not to see the whole island. I think that's the experience.
Yeah. There's also the fact that I just enjoyed getting around and getting to those places. I wasn't necessarily bummed out when I got somewhere, and it was just one of those things. So that could be what we're getting there.
Like, absolutely. That's just subjective and like totally spends different. In terms of whether this game is making me do detective work, though, I think that, like, it's very different. Like if you have like a cabinet and you say, here's some information, guess which cabinet holds the clue, is very different than saying, here's a cabinet, look through all the drawers and you're going to find some clues in there. Like they're very different propositions, like game wise. One is a game, the other is reading a book. Yeah. Or reading a series of paragraphs. And that's what this felt like. Like it didn't feel, there were a couple of things that were mildly red herring. But as soon as, the other thing that is frustrating to me about this, that I think undercuts itself, is that if there was something I was like 90% sure on, if I just made the accusation, that person would instantly flip and then flip over to other people. Yeah. Like it is not a detective game. Like you are not doing detective work. You're just reading a detective story.
It felt like a game to me.
I think it does the illusion of it. You know, but it's not like consulting detective. It's not, you know, a hunt a killer box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wants to be. It's influenced by those things. But I think that it undercuts itself.
Yeah.
And that by just telling you everything. Like none of the motive, every time we talk to somebody and they said their motivation for killing the council, that is their motivation for either killing the council or helping kill the council.
Yeah.
Nobody was lying. Like nobody was, you know, keeping a secret. That's not complicated. You know, like it's a complicated series of actions, but not a complicated motivation. Like the why done it is so lacking in this.
Yeah. I wish it was
because the characters are fucking horrendous.
Yeah, I think that connects back to something that we both agree on, which is the characters themselves necessarily should have been far more interesting.
Like I want to something when I was talking to Will, as well as somebody I talked to about video games, I also talked to about mysteries, right? Like Will is relatively lukewarm on Knives Out. And he's like, that's a great character movie, but it's just kind of a B- mystery. And I think that you need a balance between those things. Like if you just have a mystery, this may as well be a logic grid, you know, just a story of some things that could happen. And like, because the stakes like almost couldn't matter less for this. Not only is the island dying, but all these people deserve to die.
Yep.
And I'm not invested in the guilt or innocence of any of them, you know? So it just did a really bad job of motivating me to care other than just wanting to know what happened. And there's Obra Dinn. You know, if I want a logic grid that I just want to find out the mechanics of what happened, like you can do that and make it a game. Yeah. Like not just a story that you get linearly told mountains upon mountains of flavor text. You know? Yeah. Like it feels like the thing that they say that they were trying to do was solved and they decided not to do it. Yeah. And that is just, it's very hard for me to respect it as a design decision. Yeah. Like I should have just been like a regular visual novel, you know, like I could talk to the people in a different order, but like the platforming and stuff did not tie into the things as much. Or what I much prefer would be an actual detective game where I'm going to areas and like everything should have been like the roof with a grappling hook, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, the trial mostly just confirms what we just talked about. Yeah. But the thing that is new to it is people throwing each other under the bus constantly.
Yes. Yeah. So we go through we go through the case files in the order that judge kind of presents them. You can save in between them if you fuck up and you want to save scum. You know, we're still at a point where Henry Division is, you know, just the most obvious person that all of this can kind of fall to. And if we fail, like if we don't provide a good enough case for Wyatt as anybody else, Henry is going to take the fall. It'll go for that. Yes. So like, talking about the escape of, you know, Henry Division,
the last thing that's worth noting, the time limit we get is because Carmelina just decided to break the rules and end the island early. And the judge is like, you shouldn't do that. And she's like, you know, like, it's not like you can punish me. Oh, wait. Yeah. So it's just so you can't go back. It is a way of making your choices stick. You cannot go back to old evidence. Yeah. On things.
Yeah. So for Henry Division, the only people who have evidence against them are Akiko, Henry, and Witness, you know, people who would have helped him, been responsible, for, his escape. So, you know, Witness wouldn't, you know, my reasoning on this, Witness wouldn't have used the psychic scream devices. Like, that's just not what he would have done. I believed him. On that, and Henry was very unlikely to escape and make it to the crime scene. And Akiko just has mountains of evidence against her. The things that we had talked about, the thermite, Henry remembering the statue in the barracks. It's clear that she, you know, had cleared the way for him, right? And you go through, you click through the evidence, presenting it. Some of it's accepted as reasonable, some of it's accepted, or some of it is rejected, saying, "Hey, that's really tenuous." But
she did it. Yes. Once you do this, you know, and it's very flowery. Like Justice is constantly saying, steeping in the tea leaves of beautiful truth too.
Yeah. It's just kind of constantly coming up with metaphors for justice.
Yeah. You spend a lot of time doing that. Once you do this and you accuse Akiko, she just loses her shit and shouts at Carmelina. saying, hey, I was doing that. You said cooperating with you wouldn't result in mortal punishment. Immediately just dragging down somebody else and just answering a question if I had it before I'm even asked the question.
Fuck you, you
know?
fucking skunk.
Yeah, it's exactly like, you spent all your money at Dan Flashes. Carmelina dangled what Akiko wanted, promising to induct the marshals into the syndicate.
Yes.
And this starts a case file about Carmelina's conspiracy, and she just says, nuh-uh. But we now have testimony and mountain of other evidence.
Yeah.
Henry's demonic possession. There are two people. It could have been him or Yuri. It was obviously Yuri.
Yeah.
Yuri took the book.
Yeah.
Out of that, like this was not a question for me. He's pronounced guilty and immediately lashes out at Carmelina, giving you more evidence for that. She wanted him to retrieve enchanted blue from the real world. That god, and Carmelina's plan required the island to end, so Henry would be the one to induce this.
Yes. Yeah. So we needed the island to come apart. So here we go. Yeah. Let's kill the island itself. In order to kind of force this calamity, right? For the murder of Grace Bloodlines, One Last Kiss actually shows up and says like, hey, I am the ghost. I have held this grudge. Here's my blood code. I want to watch this. Only Akiko, Carmelina, or Henry Division have any evidence against them. Carmelina is the one who has the most damning evidence. You know, the strangulation marks with the ring, being alone for the exorcism, carving the sigils in. You know, it couldn't have been Henry because he would have just burned them and maybe did it. But it was Carmelina with Akiko as a collaborator, because you can only implicate one person directly yourself. I chose Carmelina as, because she was the one who had her hands on Grace. Yeah. Right.
It's worth noting that the penalty for all these things is death. And if there's somebody you think is an accessory, you can kill them afterwards.
Yes.
It kind of makes the whole trial a farce when at the end they're just like, hey, go dispense justice on your own.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud when the embodiment of justice said, hey, we just did this whole trial and I've spent, I don't know, 600 or 700 words talking about important justices. But if you want to just go do it. Like, I do not understand what the game was doing with that.
It felt strange to me. Yeah.
It's such a weird touch. But I also, obviously, Carmelina. This is one of the easier ones to miss if you miss the strangle picture. This is a little bit up in the air. But again, if you scour the island, you can see it. Yeah. For the Holy Marshals, this could be Akiku, Henry, or Lydia. To me, this was obviously Akiku because she switched the bodies. It's only one of those people that explains the body switch. Lydia was there, but has no motivation. Like, why would Lydia do this? Akiko obviously would do it because of the love of her men. Yeah.
So, she killed them. They weren't the Holy Marshals, but it was still breaking the first seal. Right. Yeah. For K-Hex going missing, suspects are Akiko, Yuri, and Crimson. So Akiko's connection's really tenuous on this one. Just there's evidence she had sent her necklace in to be repaired. Nothing there. Crimson has circumstantial evidence, like she had definitely fucked him over, but there's nothing related to her death. She can, to KX's death. It's Yuri who has the damning thing. Like just the ring that puts him at the scene and the struggle.
Yep. And as soon as you accuse him, he immediately, like, that's kind of, not airtight evidence, but just accusing him, he immediately just admits it. He has no reason not to, because he's already been accused of a crime, which means he's going to die.
Yes.
Carmelina ordered him to get the key to the second seal, so he offered K-Hax a seat on the new council. He didn't accept, so he murdered him for the seal. Who opened the second Holy Seal? We have Henry, Lydia, Witness, and Yuri here. And again, the obvious answer, Henry is not very, there's not a lot of evidence for this. The only real evidence is Shinji said a demon might be able to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Witness was searching for the secret of the second seal. I'd worked with Crimson to get that wireless transmitter, things like that. But that ended up being used for the demon and the council. I didn't see those as directly linked. There is evidence against Lydia. The linchpin for that being that, Witness had sent her a file that she denied having anything to do with. There was also the perfume helmet. Yuri had admitted to knowing the secret of the obelisk. And also he had that helmet that was there. And yeah, it's it's pretty, up in the air, kind of, because both of them are actually guilty of it, and you can only accuse one.
Yeah, you choose which one you want to take the fall here versus later. And I think what the game is trying to do is make you, because you like Lydia, the idea is you're supposed to omit evidence because she's your buddy.
Yeah.
Here there is like a spectrum of innocence in this thing. Like they're all past the point of no return for me due to slavery, but like there is a spectrum here. Yuri seems the obvious one here. And when you talk to him, he starts, this brings out this whole thread of the tunnels and the secret kid and Carmelina's broken alibi here.
Yeah. Yuri had ushered down on a gate through the seal. Getting him in down on a gate. He had council blood from Eyes Kawami and could have got through and broken the third seal, so that implicates him in that as well. The flesh fused to his body could have broken the fourth. So the plan was for down on a gate to kill everybody, and for the second seal to leave him stuck. The problem is nobody had considered that he would have his mother's ability to create these corridors. And it was Yuri.
Teleport.
Yeah, Yuri was the one who gathered up all of the blood from the council members and fed it to Henry. So that's that's why that damning piece of evidence was there, is because it was manufactured.
Yeah, it's gross. He found it in the blood. Third holy seal. So Yuri admitted all the things we just talked about, but we can't ignore that somebody else also got through this seal, because there's a demon who's there. And the suspects here are Doom Jazz, Henry, Sam, or Dynonagate.
Yes. Yeah. So Henry was set up and he never got this far. No, it's nothing. Dynonagate was just a tool for this one, so I didn't see him as culpable. And Doom Jazz's connection to the missing blood vial I saw as circumstantial. Sam could have gotten a hold of that. Without Doom Jazz's cooperation. And, this one's like, okay, do you want to omit the evidence to make sure that Sam doesn't get brought down? I did not want to let him off because, you did something. And this is important because this reveals a second conspiracy. And that, I think, is like the cool, one of the coolest things about this, about this mystery is if we are seeing things that contradict each other, it's because it was a pileup.
The two people had the thing.
Yeah.
Like to me, I put that in like the mystery itself is cool. Like the mechanics of
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Like that goes in that point for me. It's revealed here at trial, but also I was already, pretty sure that the witness just sent a demon box. Yeah. Because he lives in a demon box zone. Like it's not the evidence you're getting before the stuff that is damning is more damning than the stuff that is irrelevant.
Yeah. If I had followed my instinct, if I had followed the instinct that the game was leading me towards and let Sam off just because he was friendly, if not entirely cooperative, then I wouldn't have learned about the second conspiracy. So, So
the second, I can't remember. It went different for me because the second conspiracy came up another way here. And I'm trying to recall because it's been like a week. Since I beat it. But the second conspiracy as a case file showed up elsewise, even though I knew about it just in my brain because of the demon box and the fact that he had hung out down there and was studying demons.
But Sam had Kafka's blood, and he had used the lock 2 days before the crime. So he was obviously setting up the long distance murder weapon. He had activated all of these seals. He was not found guilty of messing with the second seal, but it counts. You're going to die for the third one anyway. And when he's convicted, Sam says, hey, I was conspiring with witness. I'm going to take him down with me. And Lydia confesses to working with him to break the seals. She was driving in those places because she just doesn't want to live anymore, and doesn't want to go on without her husband. So they go down as a pair.
That is fine. So they're all guilty about it, but Sam is the one I also fingered for this. The fourth seal, Yuri, Dianagate, Lydia, and Sam have all confessed to this. So these are the four. Nobody else really has any evidence. I really wanted to wild card this and be like, it was Doom Jazz, but you could not do.
Yeah. For the dead killer demon, obviously Witness. He had that lab. It all connects to him. He placed the phone call. He has no defense other than to say, like, yeah, I did it, but it was for a good reason. Y'all are heretics, you know?
Cool. Yeah. I mean, again, just the motivation gets restated.
Yeah.
For this. For the crime to end all crimes, which is killing everybody, the suspects are Henry, Yuri, the demon, and Diana Gate. Dinon Agate. Henry and Yuri are ruled out. They couldn't really have done it. The demon could have done it, and so could have Diana Gate. Because we have two perfect blades. We have two shots fired. The demon was shot in the head, and Diana Gate walked away with a chest wound. So presumably, if the shot got off quickly, Diana Gate probably did it.
Yeah.
We don't know that it wasn't a mixed grill. We don't know that the demon didn't kill somebody before he got shot.
Yeah.
Does it matter too much? Like it's convicting two dead people.
Yeah, they're both already dead.
Yeah. So I also chose Diana Gate, but I also, like, when I think about it, one of the things I was thinking about, which is why I wanted more articulation points in this trial, was the fact that I'm like, I don't actually know what the demon got done before he got shot, and there's no way to know.
Yeah.
And then you get your two case files that were revealed over the course of the trial, Carmelina's conspiracy and the witness's conspiracy.
Yeah. So Carmelina, her motive, she wanted Perfect 25 to be her own. She wanted full credit and full power over it. Like, if this was going to be the place, the person who made it, should get to rule it. Why not? And, the council was punishing her for her father's crimes. So going back to what was stated at the beginning, she created Diana Gate, trained him and, put all the, in the location of the tunnels, point to her thinking about this for a very long time. And she had recruited her accessories. Yuri and Akiko, were brought in on this, again, going back 10 years with the murder of Grace, setting up Henry, not just as the person to usher the end of the island, but also to be, the obvious fall guy who would go down for them.
Yeah. And she just admits to it. Yeah. Even though she knows it means death. With the council entirely gone, the remaining syndicate would look to her for leadership, since she created their paradise. And she did not think that she'd be, a temporary leader, which didn't actually help her. She basically, she Scooby-Doo's you. She says, if it wasn't for you, you meddling investigation freak, I would have got away with it as well.
Yeah.
When we talked to the witness, witness had kind of radicalized himself into more of a zealot and was convinced that the tide of demons was coming to punish them for straying from the path of awakening gods. So as he had been dabbling in demonology to learn about them, he took a demon that he had captured, confined it to his lab, and used this as a remote weapon to strike fear into the council. And the reason he got Sam Lydia on his side was he promised to get them off the island. If it worked. If the council was dead, there'd be nobody to reject their claim.
Right. And, you are given your gun, your service weapon, the thing that can kill immortals, and you get your execution scenes. For me, Kiko, Carmelina, Lydia, Sam, Witness, and Yuri were all killed, and this just left alive Crimson Acid, Doom Jazz, Last Kiss, who is going to go away anyway because vengeance was served, and Henry. Being released.
Who's going to be ritually sacrificed?
Yes,
behind.
Yeah, he was gonna die anyway, but he does thank you for being the one person who believed in him. Right?
Yeah. The judge reinstates you as the grand investigator for the new island, and gives you back your service weapon. You're allowed to reform the Paradise Psycho unit. On Perfect 25, you're back, and says, I know I talked a lot about justice, but if there's anybody else you think is culpable, go for it.
Yep.
And just sends you on your own.
Yeah.
Which I murdered them for being slavers.
Oh, yeah.
They're only kind of culpable. Crimson Acid did kind of help give the witness information about where to get the second seal, and what's his head? Doom Jazz covered up the secret evil baby.
Yes.
And for those reasons, they had to die. Or because they were slavers. That's the reason I told them, but they had to go. Because, emptying the island.
Yeah. So went around and talked to folks. I didn't shoot them because it would have been extrajudicial, and I didn't want I would have felt very frustrated if I was just like, yeah, none of that mattered. I understand that none of it mattered, but I just like whatever.
Yeah, you weren't role playing it as such. The game was saying that the game character told you none of it mattered, but you did not want your version of Love Dies to be that.
Yes. Yeah. Doom Jazz had sunk his yacht. He always does that at the end of the cycle. Henry, like I said, is grateful that we cleared his name. And Crimson Acid, she wants to be on the Paradise Psycho unit on the next island, going back into investigating and killing demons. And you get a choice to say yes or no, just like you have a choice to either kill or exile all of them. And you end the game by going to Lydia's car, to end the cycle.
Mm-hmm. If she's alive at this, I watched, on YouTube, like she has unique dialogue about how much she wants to hang out with you in the new world.
Yep.
Here. We get a last little conversation with Shinji where he says he'll miss you. You'll never, he doesn't know if you're right with your conclusions, but he knows that the next island humans will fuck it up.
Yep.
You'll all burn alive, but at least I hope you enjoy burning alive.
Yep.
And then you also get one little final thing in the bar.
Yeah.
As well. At some point, you can figure out that one of the guys in the bar is your ex.
Yes.
Whose name is like Grand Stream Bullet or something.
No, it's Isaiah.
Isaiah Bullet.
Yeah. And the other one is named like Perfect Factor or something like that. Isaiah is the one who ducks people. And Factor, I forget what she does. Yeah. But they're a couple. And it's kind of implied that they were trying to get rid of the old council because they were fucked up anyway. They may have been puppet masters on this, but that's pretty tenuous.
Yeah. Whomst can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is Paradise Killer. Mm-hmm. I have made my feelings clear. I don't need to reiterate everything, but I know, again, no offense that anyone likes it, or definitely not the patron, who I appreciate because I like that we got content out of it. I have not hated a game we've done this year more than this. And I don't, looking at the schedule, there's almost no chance I'm going to hate anything we're doing as much as I hated this.
Yeah.
This felt like an insulting waste of my time. Sincerely, I wish I just read a summary of it.
I liked this. But I also enjoy visual novels, varying levels of interactivity, from your, strictly like, hey, this is an electronic manga like Steins Gate, up to, things that people more kind of broadly call Japanese adventure games, your Phoenix Wrights, your Danganronpas, things like that.
Ghost Tricks and 999s.
Yeah. It is a space that I enjoy playing in. Do I think that this is kind of the best example of any of these things? No. Do I think that this is the best mystery story? Fuck no. We've talked about Hypnospace Outlaw. We've talked about Return of the Obra Dinn, Disco Elysium, right? Like we have like talked about some real bangers as far as like investigative mystery games go. Yeah. Outer Wilds, a game that I love so much more than this. Yeah.
Yeah, like the developers of this decided they wanted to make an open world investigation game and did this in a world where Outer Wild exists.
Yeah. It's and you didn't like Outer Wilds as much as I did, right?
No, but I liked it a lot more than this.
Yeah.
I'm not mystery pilled. Like I like a mystery game. I'm not driven by it the same way that you or Will are.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the mechanics of a mystery and I appreciate the story of a mystery.
Yeah.
Like I'm not immune to it. It just doesn't like bump everything a letter grade for me.
Yeah.
It's like Outer Wilds, which to me is like a solid B. Like, I think that game's really cool. The things it does that are awesome are awesome. Obra Dinn is like an A game for me. That's really good. Very good version of it. Hypnospace is like A+ S rank. The difference being that that's the one I cared about the characters the most.
Yeah.
This is like a D to me.
Yeah.
It is just me reading a book and the story is okay, but the proportions were really off and I spent a lot of time walking around and jumping.
Yeah. And for me, this was like a C+ B-, kind of thing, right? I did not resent the time. In fact, I chugged it. Like, yes, I was on a deadline. I did that didn't diminish my, anything for me
Did
because
not resent the chug.
Yeah, I had fun taking these notes and categorizing stuff and putting the through lines together. Like taking notes for this was part of playing the game for me. I wasn't really letting Starlight do any of the categorization because I was making it on my own as well. And I'm a person who makes notes when he plays games anyway, right? So, I was just engaging with this, on that particular level and it worked for me. So, Gary, can we still be friends?
Oh, of course. You're playing that up, and I don't care like this. I'm never going to think about this again.
Yeah.
Your feelings about it or anyone's. Like, this is me exercising it. This is my island getting an exorcist. And I am so excited to put Paradise Killer behind me and literally never consider it, except for when comparing other games to it that are doing things it does better. Mm-hmm. Like, it will literally just be, oh man, this does what Paradise Killer was trying to do, but it does it better. Mm-hmm. The two things that I think are very super subjective that when I talk to people who dig this, that I think are worth like commenting on. Mm-hmm. One this is just currency that spends differently for everybody, and this is something that didn't work for me. Is that people who really love this, I have found, tend to be pretty invested in the vibe of it. Mm-hmm. Something I've seen a lot are people who are like, oh, I love this just kind of like chill island last day of vacation vibe to it. That to me is contrary to a murder mystery. For me, a mystery has a sense of propulsion and urgency to it, but I wouldn't take that away from anybody if they were just like, yeah, I just loved hanging out in this space. That currency didn't spend with me, but it's valid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The vibe was there and I appreciated it, but it wasn't like a primary thing for me. Like I didn't get like the last day of vacation out of this. The thing that I liked was it felt like I was walking around like a dying or abandoned MMO. It was like what it felt like. It was like, oh, this is just a continent on EverQuest that nobody goes to anymore. I want to poke around in it. Was how it felt to me.
That definitely like is something that I know is a gamer value.
Yeah.
The thing I think that is like slightly less subjective when I think about this in terms of the mystery games we've done, I think this is the one with by far the least heart. Mm-hmm. The conclusions I can draw from this or the themes I can try to find from it are either vile or shallow. Mm-hmm. There's none of this connection. Like the thing that made Hypnospace, besides the fact that it's just a really cool and funny game, was the fact that it was like sweethearted. At its core. Disco Elysium is a bleeding heart of a game. Like that game cares about people so much. Outer Wilds cares a lot about people, not as much as I wanted because I'm a real fucking softie, but you still cared about people. Like I didn't like how it was ignoring the plight of everyone just dying over and over. In favor of science, but it did care about people, and that game has an emotional core. Right? Oberdin. That game has an emotional core. Like it's about literally the accounting of human lives. Papers, Please. Very much about that. This game could not care less of a shit about humanity and humanness and what makes us good, like the good things in life. It's just a logic grid of monsters. Like there's no heart to this that I can find. And I'm not somebody who needs to have like a sympathetic character in a thing, but I like to have the perspective to be less like clinical and mathematical than this was for a game.
I'm in accord with you on that one. I was also going to say, like, I don't necessarily need a character to be likable, to be invested in it. But yes, a thing that is important for me, especially if something is playing in a space of being fiction first, right? An important thing about fiction is what is this, does this reveal something is this reflective of humanity, and I don't see that here.
If it is, it's just humanity fucking sucks. And is that a message worth saying? Right? Like it reminded me, one of my favorite pieces of like just super pithy media criticism I've ever read was somebody summarized Welcome to the Dollhouse as wouldn't it suck if everything sucked? And I think that's basically what that movie's about. Right? Like that's what it feels like. And that's what this feels like in terms of a moral thing. Like truth matters, but it kind of doesn't. And these little crimes, we're going to treat them as important in comparison to real crimes, which is something that happens in real life, but we also treat real crimes as important in real life. Like it's very hard to map this onto like a theme or a message for me.
It's definitely portraying like, caste system and exploitation and, problems with authority and, just power and resources and stuff like that. But like, it's portraying them, but not saying anything about them other than, bad.
Yes.
It's bad.
Like that is not that, to me, that feels irresponsible. Like when I talk about how these devs, I have a philosophical break with them that makes me not want to respect their work or their words. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like I just, so contrasting with the Outer Wild, which had a good amount of humanism in it, but also had a lot of like, wow about this process of the scientific method. That's something that I don't feel with my heart, but I respect. I searched and have spent a lot of time talking about this game, both with you and since playing it, searching for something to respect of the themes of this game and could find nothing.
Yeah.
When I say thematically bankrupt, that's what I mean. I just don't have any respect for what it's trying to say or do, really.
Yeah. It's muddled. It's muddled and misguided for sure.
Yeah. I wish it was better.
Yep.
The parts that were good were good. Like some of the songs on the soundtrack are great. I loved it when I got to actually explore a space and look at clues in the actual engine.
Yeah.
That was very fun. Could have been good to me.
Yep.
Not trying to convince you, not trying to convince anybody. Just this is me purging it so I can move on to Perfect Island 25 in my mind.
Yep.
And next week, so if you have anything to say about Paradise Killer, hit us up on by August 15th. I'm going to throw out this. We say this all the time, but I really want it for this one. Don't argue with me in your responses. Just say what you thought about the thing.
Yeah.
It's real weird to get into like a one-sided epistolary argument during dispatch episodes. Don't do that. Just say what you thought about the thing.
Yep.
So
yeah, and it can it can stand in contradiction to things that we said, but
of course, yeah, absolutely. But I just don't, I'm not interested in getting in like a weird one-sided logic war.
Yes.
From people.
Yeah.
But if you have anything to say about this or our next games that we're doing, which is Chrono Trigger.
Yes. Chrono Trigger or Sam and Max Save the World. That was the episode we did last week. Chrono Trigger, we're going to be covering that. That'll be the premium episode for this month. So everybody will get the generalities, and the patrons will get the full kind of like rundown of the entire game.
Yeah. And if you have anything to say about next month's games, hit us up by September 15th. And next month's games are Katana Zero. And my brain is blanking.
I've got them up here. Don't worry, bud. Katana Zero, Sonic 2, Singularity, or Darkest Dungeon.
Ruin has come to this network. So that is September 15th. If you like us, if you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. $5 a month gets you bonus episodes of a lot of our shows, entire bonus shows. Just a king's ransom of stuff. $3 gets you episodes early and access to the Slack, and it goes up from there. Yep. You can sponsor an episode, and we will play it in 2022.
Yeah.
And we'd appreciate you if you did it.
We would. Yeah. Leave ratings, reviews, tell your friends. All of that is good stuff. Yeah.
I think that's probably about it.
Think so.
Yeah. Until next time, what should they watch out for?
They should watch out for all of the assholes in this game. They're all pretty bad.
They're all going to get you.
Yeah.
They might just kidnap you from life and make you a slave.
Yeah.